Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to float endlessly through space, far beyond the reach of any map, where even the stars have forgotten their names? If you have, then rest now. You've come to the right place. Let your body grow still, and your breath soften. Loosen the threads of thought in your mind, and give yourself over to the gentle rhythm of my voice. There's nothing to do, nowhere to be. Only this story, this moment, and the tranquil vastness of the cosmos. Let the darkness cradle you. Let stardust settle on your shoulders. You're not alone. You're drifting with me through the quiet corridors of forgotten galaxies, where time stretches and sighs. This is the beginning of a long, peaceful voyage. And now, the stars await. It begins in the soft shadows beyond the galactic rim, where the light is slow and the silence is rich with ancient memory. Your vessel, a smooth, silver crescent, glides effortlessly through the ether. No engines rumble, no gears turn, just the hum of starlight brushing against the hull like wind through tall grass. You are wrapped in stillness, but never in solitude. Around you, the universe breathes. The journey began hours ago, or perhaps it was years. Time has softened into a haze like the whisper of a dream you almost remember. Here, light travels differently. Old beams from long-dead stars flicker and shimmer like delicate ghosts, gliding past your window. You float, not with urgency, but with grace, as if the stars themselves are guiding your course through these forgotten galaxies. Those long-lost stretches of cosmic driftwood that broke away from the galactic tides eons ago, and now wander alone, glowing faintly in their quiet exile. The first of these galaxies appears like a swirl of dusk and memory, soft lavender tendrils winding through the black. It is unnamed on any chart, unlabeled by any telescope, known only to the drifting dust of time. You enter its outer edges slowly, as one might step into a sacred place. The stars here are old, tired, gentle, golden, and they blink like eyelids heavy with sleep. Whole solar systems cradle themselves in the crooks of spiral arms, not spinning frantically, but swaying slowly, like lullabies in celestial cradles. The ship adjusts its path, not by force, but by quiet agreement with the gravitational murmurs of the galaxy. Around you, dust clouds shimmer like frost in candlelight. Their particles float lazily, catching the weak glow of ancient starlight. You pass through one, an opalescent mist of hydrogen and cosmic remnants, and your window is painted briefly in hues of rose and pearl. There is no sound but your breath, soft and even. And perhaps if you listen closely, you might imagine the faintest melody, a hum beneath silence, the music of the cosmos in its rest. On this bridge of light, you pass clusters of tiny stars, still warm from birth, blinking open their newborn. You move through a corridor of twin stars now, two suns long cooled to dim embers, spinning around one another in a slow, unending dance. Their light is faded amber, casting twin shadows on the wings of your ship. Planets drift in wide, lazy orbits around them, most barren, some bearing glints of frozen oceans or lonely mountains. One world, a bluish-white marble with swirling clouds, draws your attention. You approach it gently, as if not to wake it from some ancient slumber. A quiet scan reveals nothing but ice and silence, a pristine wilderness untouched by life, but not by beauty. The planet's frozen surface gleams under the light of the twin stars. Deep valleys catch the amber glow, while crystalline ridges stretch for miles like veins of frozen time. You hover for a moment, suspended just above its atmosphere, watching a glacial wind ripple across the icy plain. From this height, the world looks like a pearl cracked open, its surface telling stories no one has heard in millennia. You drift on, beyond the frozen planet, A trail of cosmic debris curls through the void like the tail of a sleeping comet. You follow it, each fragment glowing faintly. Pieces of long-forgotten worlds, broken moons, maybe even lost spacecraft from civilizations that rose and fell long before Earth's first light. Some fragments tumble slowly, as though caught in a dream. Others remain still like ancient statues frozen in the void. Among them, a hollowed-out ring. A perfect circle of silvery metal floats aimlessly. You pass through it, and for a brief moment, the ship's hull vibrates softly, as if the ring still remembers its purpose and reaches out in recognition. The galaxy's heart draws nearer now, a core not ablaze with fierce light, but calm and steady like a lantern in a quiet temple. Its center is a cluster of old, red giants, gathered close like elders in quiet conversation. You pass through their warm glow, feeling their presence like a soft blanket around your shoulders. These stars no longer roar, they whisper. They murmur to one another in the language of gravity and light, remembering the time when this galaxy was young and full of motion. Now, they rest, and you rest with them. Beyond the core lies a place of quiet wonder, an interstellar bridge of light, stretching to another forgotten galaxy, a faint filament of stars and dust, linking one quiet sanctuary to another. Your vessel, obedient and graceful, drifts onto this bridge. Around you, light weaves itself into threads, thin as silk, glowing softly with blues and golds. They spiral around the ship in patterns too subtle for charts, too graceful for mathematics. These are the paths the universe keeps hidden. Routes not measured by distance, but by stillness. Non-eyes. Some are so small they barely shine, but their presence is enough to paint your journey with meaning. Here, even the smallest speck of light is a guide. Nebulous forms small eddies along the path, clouds of baby stars wrapped in swaddling dust. Their colors are more suggestion than pigment, a hint of violet, a memory of teal. They pulse slowly, as if inhaling. You find yourself slowing, not by choice, but by the gentle persuasion of peace. Even thought becomes quiet. Words retreat, only sensations remain. The glow of distant suns, the curve of drifting galaxies, the weightless embrace of a ship that asks nothing of you, but to rest. Time no longer follows minutes or hours. It flows like a river in a dream, and as the ship enters the second galaxy, darker, deeper, older than the last, you feel the hush settle deeper into your bones. This place is darker, yes, but not cold. It is the deep navy of midnight blankets, the ink of a forgotten journal, the womb of stars yet to be born. Here, dark matter holds court, and light dances like candle flame, reverent and low. Your ship dims its own lights in respect. You become a shadow among shadows, a silent guest in a sleeping cathedral. Out in the distance, a lone pulsar beats slowly, an ancient star's fading heartbeat, echoing across space. It flashes once, then again, each pulse a soft drum in the void. The rhythm matches your breath. You let go a little more. Here, among forgotten galaxies and the secrets they cradle, you are safe, cradled by light that has traveled longer than history, watched over by stars who have forgotten war and noise. This is where dreams come from. This quiet place beyond charts, where ships drift like feathers, and space hums lullabies, made of starlight and memory. And so you float on. No destination, no rush, just the soft unfolding of the cosmos, one forgotten galaxy at a time. You float on. No destination, no rush, just the soft unfolding of the cosmos, one forgotten galaxy at a time. As your vessel glides deeper into this second galaxy, the dark continues to stretch around you like velvet, A vast, rich quiet that presses gently against the hull of your ship. The stars here are fewer, spread thinly across the canvas of space like the last flickers of embers in a dying fire. But what this galaxy lacks in brilliance, it offers in depth. There is a different kind of beauty in this hush. A beauty that waits, patient and undemanding for those who slow down enough to notice it. Gradually, a change begins to form in the space ahead. The darkness gives way to a pale shimmer, a low, glowing sea of drifting lights. Barely perceptible at first, like the glow of lanterns seen through fog. These are not stars, and they do not burn. They move, they pulse, they float with the weightlessness of dream. The ship slows as it approaches the edge of this glowing field, and you realize you are entering what can only be described as a sea suspended in space. The lanterns sea. The lights drift in clusters, glowing softly in shades of cream, blue, and gold, each one no larger than a grain of sand to the eye. Though they seem to hold an impossible depth, they hover in the emptiness, dancing slowly, responding to forces you cannot see. Some swirl in tiny eddies. Others drift alone like silent wayfarers. Each one pulses with its own rhythm, slow and steady, like distant heartbeats resonating through the void. The vessel glides gently into the sea, and the lights begin to wrap around you. They make no sound, but their movement carries a kind of music, felt, not heard. The rhythm of it seeps into your breath, into your thoughts. The lanterns drift alongside the ship, creating a soft halo that moves with you, like companions on a night walk through ancient woods. You drift deeper, watching them dance, their glows reflecting on the curve of the glass around you. One lantern passes close to the window, so close you can see what seems to be a structure within it, a delicate spiral of translucent threads that refract light in shifting rainbows. It spins slowly as it floats, turning itself over with no urgency. Another floats by, revealing a moving lattice of crystal folding and unfolding like a flower in bloom. They are like memories held in fragile bubbles, secrets whispered into space itself. As your vessel continues forward, the lights grow denser, forming lazy spirals and slow-moving currents. The ship doesn't need to steer. The lanterns guide your path, parting before you in a silent ballet. Time dissolves. There are no hours here, no marks to count the passing. Only the endless, drifting hush of this cosmic sea. Ahead, a soft spiral of lanterns begins to form, a whirlpool of light, turning so gently you almost doubt it moves at all. Your ship, as though caught by some kind gravitational kindness, is drawn into its orbit. You spiral inward, not with speed, but with grace. Like a feather, turning on a breath of wind. At the center of the spiral, the lights thin, revealing a dark hollow at its core. A silence deeper than before. But within that darkness, a faint golden light begins to glow. It's not immediate. It arrives slowly, blooming like dawn seen through a long-forgotten cave. It begins as a flicker, a shimmer, and then unfolds into something luminous, a great structure at the heart of the spiral. At first it is formless, then it begins to reveal itself. A many-petaled bloom of translucent radiance, unfurling in the silence of space. Like a lotus formed of crystal and starlight, it opens slowly, deliberately, each petal glowing from within, with light that seems older than galaxy. The petals catch the drifting lanterns, bending their light, reflecting it in arcs and halos. At the center of this immense blossom, there is a sphere perfect, still and glowing with a gentle warmth that touches something wordless inside you. You cannot name the feeling, only that it is deep and quiet, and full of belonging. Looking into the sphere, you feel everything soften: your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts. There is no past here, no future, only this single, endless now. The ship does not speak, nor hum, nor move. It merely floats in place, sharing this sacred silence with you. For a long time, you remain like that, suspended in the heart of the lantern sea, surrounded by light and peace. Eventually, the petals begin to close, not out of finality, but as if returning to rest. The lanterns shift their paths, turning outward once more, their glow dimming slightly. The spiral breathes a final, slow breath. Your ship, gently nudged by currents unseen, begins to rise again, spiraling back out through the field of light. As you drift upward, the lights become fewer. The sea begins to thin. Lantern by lantern, they peel away, returning to the shadows. The stars beyond grow clearer once again, blinking softly in the infinite night. The ship drifts through the last wisps of light, and the lantern sea fades behind you, like the final notes of a lullaby. What lies ahead is softer still. A region where space feels like twilight. Nebulas stretch like faint clouds across the dark, lit only by the ghostly light of ancient stars. Their colors are the dusky hues of dusk, lavender, soft gray, and the gentle wash of coral at the edge of sleep. This part of the galaxy feels quiet in a different way, not empty but resting. As if everything here has settled into stillness. You pass through a mist of frozen vapor, and a thin film of ice forms briefly on the outer hull, catching the surrounding starlight in shimmering arcs. The window glows with fleeting patterns, icy feathers, crystalline branches that melt away into nothingness. Moments later, it's as if the galaxy is breathing on the glass, sharing its dreams with you in symbols too delicate to last. The ship drifts onward, and you pass a collection of small icy bodies, planets no larger than islands, huddled together like sleepers beneath a vast blanket of stars. Their surfaces glint with frozen oceans, cratered hills, and still, reflective plain. A moon of translucent ice turns slowly nearby, casting faint shadows across its nearest sibling. There is no motion here, no orbit fast enough to notice. Everything moves as if under deep sleep. And then a soft sound or something like it begins to fill the cabin. It is not noise, not music in any traditional sense. It is a resonance, like the echo of something very far away, pulsing gently through the hull, into your bones. A frequency so low it feels more like a memory than a sound. It lingers, comforting and slow, sinking naturally with your breath, your heart, your thoughts. It feels like the deep exhale of the universe itself. Ahead, two great ribbons of interstellar dust rise like gentle arcs, forming a kind of archway in space. They shimmer faintly, their curves glowing with the light of passing stars. As your ship drifts beneath them, that soft sound deepens. The arch seems to respond, resonating in return, singing a quiet song of arrival, of welcome. And beyond that arch, the light begins to change again. A soft violet haze spills into view, spreading across the horizon like spilled ink. You drift toward it, watching it pulse faintly, like the gentle glow of phosphorescence beneath the ocean. It is not bright, but warm, not loud, but present. As your ship enters the haze, the stars behind you blur and fade. The world becomes diffuse, dreamlike. Inside the haze, nothing is solid. Shapes form and fade, spirals of dust, filaments of silver, delicate fractals that flicker and dissolve. The boundary between inside and outside blur. You feel weightless, not just in body but in mind. Thought softens, time stretches. You are a breath, drifting in a breath. And so you rest. No hurry, no noise, only the slow pulse of drifting lanterns, ancient petals folding closed, and the endless exhale of the stars. The violet haze thins. You drift gently out of it, as if rising slowly from a warm bath back into cool air. The boundary so delicate you almost don't notice the change. The ship glides forward with effortless grace, its smooth silver hull cutting through the last shimmers of the haze like a dream dissolving into morning. The stars return to view, not bright, not bold, but soft and scattered, like powdered sugar over velvet. Up ahead, something glimmers, not light, not entirely, but reflection. A field of silver appears in the distance, wide and still, spreading across a vast stretch of space. You move toward it without question, drawn by its gentle invitation. There is no resistance, No need to steer. The ship responds to the subtlest thoughts, or perhaps to the mood of the stars themselves. And then you arrive at the edge of it, the ocean of mirrors. A wide expanse of perfectly flat, reflective dust and ice floating across the void. Not a single ripple mars its surface. It is as if a great pane of glass has been laid across the heavens. The stars above are reflected with such precision that it becomes impossible to tell which is sky and which is sea. The ship slows to a near hover, floating just meters above the ocean's surface. Looking down, you see your own vessel perfectly mirrored below, drifting through its twin world. For a long time, you move without purpose across the ocean, watching the mirrored stars slide silently beneath you. Every now and then, something stirs, a ripple without source, a shimmer without wind. You pass over them with reverence, not wanting to break their spell. The air inside the ship grows even quieter. Thoughts taper off like the trailing ends of silk ribbon. You are aware of nothing but the stillness and the reflection of eternity beneath you. The mirror begins to show more than sky. Faint shapes rise beneath its surface, mountain-like ridges of drifting dust, towers of ice catching the starlight from below. They move slowly, impossibly slowly, rising and sinking in cycles far older than time. You realize then that the ocean is not flat. It only appears so, because it moves in such massive languid tides that change happens beyond the scale of perception. A planet-sized breath stretched across. In the distance, a faint glow begins to form. It is unlike the stars, a deeper amber light pulsing slowly, like the lanterns before but steadier. You float toward it, carried by the current of space. Your ship now more like a leaf adrift on a pond. The glow resolves into a structure of immense calm, an arch rising from the mirrored surface, made not of matter but of light itself. Two bands of luminous gold curve up from the sea, meeting in a gentle point high above, and hanging in the center is a sphere of light, turning slowly, calmly. The ship slows to a stop beneath it. The sea reflects the arch and the sphere, forming a complete loop, a circle of perfect symmetry, suspended between two infinities. You look up, you look down. The view is the same. Time pauses. The arch does not move. The sphere does not pulse. Even the mirrored ocean seems to wait. And then slowly, the sphere begins to unfold. Not open, unfold. It does not break apart, but expands like a thought stretching its wings. Layers of luminous geometry spiral outward from its core. Circles inside circles. Lattices of soft gold light, turning in patterns that could only exist in dreams. They rotate at impossible angles, flowing through one another, casting a glow that reaches out across the surface of the mirrored ocean. You feel its warmth, not on your skin, but somewhere deeper, a resonance in your chest, as though a soft chime has been struck within you. The sensation is one of deep memory, something older than words, a feeling of being known, not seen, but known, as if the light has recognized you and is simply saying, welcome. The unfolding continues until the geometry becomes so complex, so delicate, that it simply dissolves into starlight, dispersing into the sky like golden pollen. The arch fades with it, vanishing without sound. The ship resumes its drift, as though exhaling. The ocean ahead begins to change. No longer still, it now breaks gently into soft, undulating waves. The reflection becomes fluid. Stars ripple across the mirrored surface, like fireflies caught in a gentle stream. Beneath the waves, more light blue. Not stars this time, but colors, sapphire blues, soft lilacs, deep ambers rising from beneath, like the ocean itself is remembering dreams. Then breaking the surface far ahead, a shape begins to rise. At first, it's only a glint. Then the outline of a colossal, curved structure emerges. Slow and serene, A ring. A massive, ancient halo, slowly rotating on a vertical axis, half submerged in the ocean of mirrors. You draw closer, and details begin to take shape. Arches, walkways, spires grown over with clusters of frozen gas and silver crystal. It's not abandoned, not ruined, just sleeping. The ship circles it slowly, reverently. The ring is thousands of kilometers across, but motionless. Lights within it glow faintly, like embers deep inside a hearth. You float past what might have once been gathering halls, meditation chambers, gardens grown from starlight and dust. Every surface is mirrored, reflecting the sea below and sky above, making the structure appear suspended between two endless domes. On the inner curve of the ring, a single archway glows more brightly than the rest. The ship responds as if drawn toward it. It approaches with slow grace, then passes through. Inside, the sound changes, not louder, but deeper. A new hum begins, steady and round, like the sound of waves from a great distance. It wraps around you. Through the window, light plays in slow patterns across the chamber walls. Geometry formed by movement and reflection. You float through the ring, watching the light shift and dance, until the ship gently emerges from the other side. The ocean of mirrors stretches onward. The ring fades behind you, shrinking slowly into the horizon, its mirrored spires swallowed again by the dreaming tides. The waves ahead grow smaller once more. The sky darkens slightly, not with storm but with night. A new kind of quiet settles, deeper, more internal. You pass over a still stretch of sea where nothing moves. The stars are reflected with perfect clarity, their light seeming to extend both above and below in equal measure. It becomes impossible again to tell where the real sky ends. You float, suspended in infinite space, as if caught between the inhale and exhale of the universe itself. Your breath slows, your thoughts grow light. There is only stillness now, and reflection. You are part of the ocean, part of the sky, and both cradle you gently, and you The mirrored ocean narrows, gradually, almost imperceptibly. The endless reflective sea tapers into a long, gleaming corridor of calm, an interstellar passage that winds between two massive fields of faint starlight. The stars here are quiet things, spaced far apart. Their light so diffuse that it doesn't shine, it lingers. Each point of light feels old, like a lantern kept burning long after its keeper has moved on. The ship glides silently between them, as if floating down a sacred, forgotten river. Ahead, the corridor darkens slightly, not with threat, but with depth. A soft curvature of space begins to take shape. A bend in gravity so smooth and gradual that it feels less like movement and more like drifting into a deeper level of rest. The stars begin to slow, not in speed, but in frequency. Their pulses grow longer, their flickers more deliberate. Even light seems to stretch, as if time itself is winding down. You have entered the valley of slow time. It doesn't announce itself. There are no sudden shifts or thresholds. It happens slowly, like dusk falling across a mountaintop. The stars thin into mist, and that mist gathers into long, luminous ridges on either side of your ship. They resemble mountains, though not made of rock or gas. They are made of bent time, dense pockets of gravity that have formed still, glowing ranges. Their peaks shine with compressed starlight, frozen in long echoes of movement. As you drift deeper into the valley, your breath begins to change. Not shorter, not strained, just slower. Your chest rises more gently. The space between each inhale stretches. Your heart keeps pace, not by effort, but by intuition, responding to the rhythm of the valley. The body knows it is safe here, in this place where even time has chosen to rest. Beneath you, the reflective path continues, no longer an ocean, but a ribbon of light. stretched between two eternities. The stars above mirror those below in a perfect, slow dancing symmetry. The ship too slows, not mechanically, but instinctively. Its lights dim slightly. Its systems hum more softly. It adapts to the valley, becoming part of its stillness. And then, far in the distance, a new light rises. Not a star, not a lantern. A slow, spinning sphere of braided colors. Gold, copper, indigo, and pale rose. It turns with glacial grace, its patterns flowing like rivers of honey across its surface. The light it emits is warm, but not bright. A low, amber glow that seems to dissolve tension on sight. You move toward it, not because the ship urges it, but because it feels right. The way water flows toward low places, the way dreams drift toward sleep. The sphere continues its slow rotation as you draw near, and you realize it's not a star at all. It is a temporal bloom, a phenomenon that only exists in places where time folds upon itself gently. This bloom is vast, the size of a planet, but not solid. Its surface ripples like liquid light. As the ship drifts around it, you see mirrored images of stars, clouds, and other ships. Perhaps yours, perhaps echoes of others, reflected across its surface, drawn inward and stretched, looping over and over in layers of curved light. And at its center, deep within its glowing folds, a pulse. It does not flash, it expands. A slow, rhythmic thrum of energy that passes through your ship and through you. Not disturbing, comforting. It feels like the heartbeat of something old and gentle. As you orbit the bloom, you begin to sense that this place is more than still. It is sacred. A resting place for time itself. A cosmic monastery where moments kneel and remain in prayer for millennia. The pulse continues. The light glows. The valley holds you gently. After some time, though time is harder to measure here, the ship begins to turn away. It does so respectfully, as if bowing to the bloom. You drift outward again, passing between the luminous ridges of bent time, the great curved mountains of silence. And then the valley begins to open. The stars slowly return, appearing first as faint freckles of light, then more clearly, growing in number. You emerge from the slow zone like a diver surfacing from a quiet ocean trench. But even as the stars begin to brighten, their quiet mood lingers in your bones. You carry it with you. The stillness, the rhythm, the breath of the valley. Out ahead, a new region appears. Unlike the deep voids and mirrored seas behind you, this part of space seems alive, not in movement, but in texture. Clouds of golden dust stretch across the void like vast river deltas, lit from within by unseen suns. They twist slowly, forming soft spires and hollow caverns of glowing haze. The ship begins to descend into this golden terrain, the way one might wander into a glowing forest just before nightfall. Here, gravity is soft. Soundless waves ripple through the dust, creating patterns in the clouds like soft ruffles on a silk sheet. The ship weaves gently between them, barely disturbing their shape. All around you, the gold deepens, then fades, then deepens again. Like light seen through water, faint shadows drift across the dust, perhaps small moons, perhaps only the memory of them. You pass through a long stretch of glowing tunnels, natural formations within the dust, shaped by time and the passage of ancient winds. The walls glisten faintly with crystals suspended in stasis. They do not reflect sharply, but scatter light in 1,000 soft directions. As you glide through, your own reflection appears and disappears across the walls. Distorted, dreamlike, like glimpses of yourself from other lifetime. There are no edges here. Everything fades into something else. Color becomes light. Light becomes movement. Movement becomes breath. Eventually, the tunnels open into a vast chamber of light. a kind of amphitheater carved from dust and time, illuminated by an enormous halo hovering above a ring of gentle white light spinning slowly in place. Beneath it, space ripples like water touched by a breeze. You float into the center of this space, and the ship comes to rest, not anchored, but still, perfectly still. Nothing moves. The halo casts no shadows. The silence is complete, and yet, it is not empty. You sense a presence here, not watching but holding, not speaking but listening, like the hush that falls in a room just before someone you love begins to sing. You sit within it, eyes closed or open. It makes no difference. This is the kind of silence that speaks directly to your inner self, the part of you that knows no language, only stillness. Moments pass, or maybe ages, and when the ship finally turns again, lifting gently from the golden dust, you feel no urgency, only a kind of soft gratitude, as if space itself has placed a hand on your shoulder and whispered, "It's all right, you can rest now." And so you drift onward, beyond the valley, past the blue, through the halo and the golden clouds, toward whatever lies ahead in this endless lullaby of stars. The golden clouds behind you fade like candle smoke, curling away into the dark. The light becomes gentler now, less gold, more pearl, a pale, almost silver blue hue that coats everything in a cool hush. The ship, gliding silently onward, seems to sense the shift. Its outer shell reflects the light, now the color of moonlight on still water. There is a sense of ascent, not in height, but in clarity, as though the voyage is lifting you into a more peaceful layer of the cosmos. And then slowly, like the first glimpse of land after a long journey across open water, something appears. Drifting across the vastness is a wide expanse of suspended formations. Clouds, not of vapor or storm, but of some other softer material. They glow faintly, their edges illuminated from within by subtle colors, turquoise, soft pinks, pale greens, all blending and breathing like the surface of a dreaming sea. They float together like a continent made of not stormy, not formless, but ordered in a way that speaks of quiet intention. This is Elessir, a name not spoken but felt like a breeze carrying a memory you never made. The cloud gardens of Elessir stretch for thousands of kilometers across open space, untouched by gravity's pull or the interference of stars. Suspended in perfect balance, they drift together in great waves and terraces, forming layers upon layers of weightless beauty. The ship begins to descend. There is no turbulence here, no wind, only the gentle, steady hush of your vessel parting the lightest folds of mist. You pass through the uppermost layers where the clouds are thinner, almost translucent, and you can see stars flickering through them. These top layers curl and spiral like unfurling petals, and as you glide between them, the edges glow faintly at your passing, as if responding to your presence with the softest of sighs. Beneath this, the gardens begin. Not gardens in the way Earth knows them. There are no trees, no soil, no roots. But shapes begin to form within the clouds. Columns, platforms, archways, all carved not of stone or metal, but from denser fog, guided perhaps by time or by the gentle shaping hands of the universe. They do not sit still. They drift slowly, always moving, forming new pathways, dissolving old ones. Entire structures made of luminous mist spin lazily in place, turning like thoughts half remembered in a quiet mind. As the ship dips lower, the cloud gardens grow denser, the light dimmer but softer. Here the air, or what passes for air, feels thick with memory. You pass a structure that resembles a spiraling tower, slowly rotating and silent. Along its walls are openings, balconies, perhaps, or just places where the light can fall through. Inside, shadow and glow play across the swirling haze in patterns so delicate you stop to watch for a while. Your mind empty, your breath slow. Floating shapes pass nearby, some small round forms that drift like jellyfish, glowing with pale blue light. Others are long and curved, like leaves folded in sleep. They drift through the gardens with no purpose but to be, trailing faint trails of iridescent particles behind them. Some pass close to the ship, not reacting, not afraid, just continuing their unhurried passage through the only world they've ever known. The ship weaves gently through a vast arch of cloud, and on the other side, a wide open space emerges, a clearing if such a thing exists here. In its center, a great sphere of mist floats, slowly breathing in and out. With each inhalation, the clouds around it pull inward. With each exhale, they drift outward in a ripple of glowing light. It is the heart of the gardens, a pulse of calm. You hover there, in the presence of that slow rhythm, and it speaks to something in you. You are not separate from this. You are not merely a visitor. For a moment long, deep and wordless, you feel yourself as one of the clouds, one of the drifting things, thoughtless, content, held. And then the sphere begins to dissolve, not vanish, just spread outward, slowly becoming part of the surrounding garden. Its rhythm continues, fainter now, but still present, a heartbeat shared. The ship begins to rise again. You pass through a column of folded cloud, and as you rise, the colors shift again, pale silver, turning to soft blue, to lavender, to nearly white. The upper reaches of Alessier are quieter still. Here, time seems to stretch thin, like fine silk pulled across a frame. Light filters through the highest terraces in long, slow shafts that glimmer with tiny particles, spores perhaps, or bits of crystal mist. They drift lazily, twirling and catching the light, like floating snowflakes. You reach out your hand and imagine touching them, feeling them melt on your fingers like snow from another dimension. A sound, faint and distant, begins to hum through the ship. Not mechanical, not natural, something in between. A low, harmonic tone that seems to come from all around, as if the gardens themselves are singing. It is not a melody, but a feeling. It moves through the cabin like a soft vibration, through your chest like a whisper you've known since before you were born. It fades in and out, as if carried by winds that have never existed. The ship rises beyond the final layer of Alessier. Below, the gardens stretch in soft, drifting curves, glowing gently like a sea beneath a full moon. You hover for a while above it all, watching it breathe and shimmer in the quiet. No words come, only a sense of deep, peaceful gratitude for beauty that asks nothing, for quiet that fills instead of empty. A final ripple of color passes through the gardens below. One last pulse from the heart. It moves outward like a ring in water, touching every terrace, every spire, every floating form. Before fading into the night, the ship turns forward once again. You are back in open space now, the last wisps of cloud trailing off into the void. Stars blink gently in the distance, more of them now, as if the sky itself has opened wider to greet you. Ahead, another shape forms, a line, then a curve, then a long, winding helix of light, a cosmic bridge, turning slowly in a spiral, connecting this gentle world to the next. And so you follow it. You breathe in, you breathe out, and you drift. The ship eases forward, its sleek form weightless against the current of stars. Ahead, the helix beckons, an endless winding ribbon of soft light, stretched through the dark like the trail of a comet that never stopped falling. The spiral bridge to nowhere curves gently upward, looping again and again as it coils into the distant unknown. There is no beginning to it, and no visible end. It simply turns, luminous and calm, unwinding its shape across 1,000 kilometers of space. You enter the spiral not by crossing a threshold, but by drifting into its rhythm. The light doesn't radiate. It flows, like a quiet tide of color just under the surface. Your ship begins to follow its path. Not pulled by gravity or pushed by fuel, but invited. The bridge welcomes you without sound or signal. It allows you to move at your own pace, at the tempo of breath and thought, a tranquil arc across the silence of the stars. Inside the spiral, the universe folds around you, above, below, all around. The same curve repeats, a soft band of silvery glow, laced with pulses of lavender and blue, winding endlessly, like a staircase carved into time itself. You look out, and there are layers of the spiral moving in tandem, each one like the petal of a flower in bloom, or the curl of a sleeping cat's tail. The space between each loop is vast, but not empty. Within those gentle gaps, float fragments, objects and shapes too strange to name and too peaceful to fear. A circular ring drifts past, its outer rim coated in frost, its center open like a window onto forgotten starlight. Then a prism the size of a small moon spins slowly on its axis, scattering soft hues in every direction. Further along the spiral, an enormous tree-like form, made of crystalline threads rather than bark or branch, stands rooted in nothing, each translucent limb bending under the weight of glowing droplets that never fall. You pass these things in silence, feeling them more than observing. They are remnants, perhaps, offerings, or simply the spiral's way of telling stories without words. Time slows again, not in a jarring way, but as if space itself is asking you to breathe more deeply. The spiral bridge allows you to wander not just through space, but through memory and stillness. The ship's cabin dims to match the tone of the spiral light. The stars blur slightly, their edges soft and patient. You close your eyes, just for a moment, and when you open them again, the light has shifted subtly. Now the spiral glows with pale amber and deep green, like the last light of autumn leaves, just before nightfall. A sense of nostalgia begins to creep in, not sadness, but the warm ache of remembering something kind. You don't know what it is you're remembering, or even if it's yours, but it feels like home. A home you've never been to, a place you would recognize by feel, not sight. The bridge begins to narrow. The loops tighten, not uncomfortably, but more intimate now, wrapping the ship in a closer embrace. The objects floating nearby grow smaller, more delicate feathers of frozen light, curls of filament that twitch as you pass, petals that open and close with your movement. It's as though the spiral is drawing you inward, towards some center not measured by distance, but by quiet. And then something changes. The light begins to flicker softly, gently, in a rhythm too slow to be intentional, too natural to be accidental. The spiral pulses like breath, and with each pulse the space around you shifts. You pass into a section of the spiral where reflections begin to form, not in the window but in the air around you. Translucent echoes of places you've seen, the mirrored ocean, the cloud gardens, the temporal bloom, reappear like thoughts floating just out of reach. You see them only for moments, then they fade again, replaced by new scenes. A long corridor of starlight, a single moon over an ink-black sea, a hand reaching toward you from a dream. Nothing frightening, only distant, only quiet. The spiral is showing you something memories not bound to you, or perhaps glimpses of other travelers who once passed this way. Their presence is not seen but felt, like footprints left in sand long after the walker is gone. You are part of that now, a quiet passerby, a thread in a tapestry you will never fully see. And still the ship moves. The spiral tightens once more, until the loops are no longer loops at all, but a single line of curling light, wrapped so closely it becomes indistinguishable from a tunnel. The bridge has become a cocoon, a corridor of soft, endless curve. The outside world disappears. There is only the path, the movement, the light. Within the tunnel, a new stillness forms. No sound, no motion beyond the slow, steady glide of your ship. Even your thoughts begin to slow, stretch, soften. There is a brief moment when you feel as if you have ceased to move altogether, that the universe has paused and you with it, that this is a space between seconds, a pause in the breath of creation, not empty, just sacred. And then very slowly, the spiral begins to unwind. The tight coils loosen. The tunnel widens. Light spills outward again, no longer held close, but stretching back into the vastness of open space. You emerge from the spiral as though waking from a dream. Not suddenly, but gently, with the last threads of sleep still clinging to your awareness. The ship drifts into an open sky. And what a sky it is. A star field, unlike any you've yet seen. Stars in every shade of blue and violet, flickering like dew under starlight. They are suspended across a wide band of galactic mist, which glows with a soft, bioluminescent light. You have reached the quiet reef, a place where star currents drift slowly in thick bands, like coral reefs beneath an interstellar tide. But that is for later. For now, you remain just outside, floating silently after the spiral, the curve of it still visible behind you like a spiral shell resting on the shore. You watch it slowly fade, its light dissolving into the dark, its final loop unwinding into space like a sigh. And you breathe. You have crossed the spiral bridge to nowhere. You are not lost. You are simply exactly where you need to be, drifting, dreaming, and wrapped in the silence between galaxies. The spiral is gone. Only its memory remains. A soft curl of light, gently fading into the dark, like the last note of a lullaby, carried off by space's hush. The ship moves onward now, coasting into the outer edge of what lies ahead. It does not need to steer. There is only one direction here, and it is forward into stillness. The stars begin to change. No longer scattered pinpricks on velvet. They grow more numerous, more luminous, forming dense fields that ripple like underwater kelp forests. You've arrived at the edge of the quiet reef, a stretch of space so gentle, so thick with drifting light and layered motion, that it no longer feels like flying. It feels like floating through a sea. This region of the galaxy is unlike the rest. It moves differently, breathes differently. Here, stars are born and fade not in bursts or explosions, but in long, quiet waves. Their light curls around invisible currents, glowing softly in hues of aquamarine, violet, and dusky rose. The galaxy folds in on itself in this place, turning the laws of time and distance into something closer to rhythm than rule. Your ship glides into the reef. Immediately, the light grows thicker, not brighter, just fuller, more present. Everywhere you look, it glows gently, casting soft halos that float beside the ship like curious creatures. Starlight moves in long strands here, forming soft ribbons that drift lazily past your viewports. Some coil into knots and loops, others stretch endlessly, fading into the deeper dark. The movement is slow, deliberate, as if the entire region exists inside a dream. You pass through the first of the light strands. It wraps itself briefly around the ship, pulsing with a low, golden hue before drifting away again. There's no impact, no resistance, just the gentlest of brushes, like silk across skin. Beyond it, clusters of glowing gas form dome-like shapes that breathe slowly, expanding and collapsing in rhythms that don't match your own, but somehow feel familiar anyway. These are the reefs themselves, massive clouds of stardust and plasma, shaped by eons of quiet tidal motion. The ship threads between them with reverent care, You drift deeper into the reef. The star fields around you begin to hum, not with sound, but with presence. Some part of you can feel it, not as a noise in your ears, but as a sensation beneath your skin. A low and warm vibration, like placing your palm against the surface of a sleeping creature and feeling the slow, steady pulse of life within. The reef is alive, not conscious in the way a person is, not thinking, but dreaming, remembering. It has grown here for thousands of millennia, nurtured by the movement of stars and the soft whisper of gravity. Its motion is tidal. Its growth is guided by patterns older than light. One particular formation rises in the distance. A great arc of light, dozens of kilometers long, curved like the rib of some celestial giant, glowing with the colors of starlight seen through water. The ship floats beneath it. And as you pass under the arch, your entire cabin fills with iridescence. The arch refracts the light of the reef into shimmering bands, blue, lavender, rose, gold, each hue shifting softly as your angle changes. You pause beneath it, drifting slowly, watching the color wash over the walls, your hands, your breath. The silence is thick, but not empty. It is warm, like a blanket woven from light and memory. You move on. Clusters of stars float in formation nearby, not bound tightly, but gently tethered to one another by invisible cords of gravity. They spin slowly together, like dancers waltzing across a forgotten ballroom. Some of these clusters flicker as you pass, not in alarm, but recognition perhaps. Others remain still, glowing softly. You pass between them with the quiet permission of a dream, and then you reach the coral. The reef is not only made of gas and light, it has structure here. Arches of frozen matter sculpted by stellar winds, pale structures that loop and spiral, stretching out in great lattices like living bone. These coral towers glow faintly from within, their surfaces coated in glittering minerals that catch the passing light and throw it outward in quiet celebration. The ship slows here, hovering near one formation that resembles a branching tree, each limb tipped with tiny luminous growths, pulsing in synchrony. The coral pulses slower and slower. Your breath follows. Beyond the coral, bioluminescent clouds drift past. Some are shaped like domes, others like long curtains trailing off into the deep. Creatures, if that's what they are, glide within them. Points of moving light, swimming gracefully between the folds. They do not flee the ship. They barely acknowledge it, save for a flicker here, a glow there. They exist within the reef, native to its tides and shadows, and you are merely passing through their world. You find a clearing, a quiet place where the reef opens wide, revealing a soft expanse of starlight beneath. The ship settles to a stop, suspended in the middle of it all, surrounded on all sides by drifting coral, light and color. There is no motion now, no purpose, just presence. The reef sings, still not a sound, but a sensation. A slow, deep vibration that fills the silence with meaning. It moves through the ship, through you, through the reef itself. It is a song of stillness, a hymn made of gravity and the memory of light. You close your eyes, you breathe in the quiet. In that moment, everything holds still. The ship, the reef, the stars, your thoughts. You exist as part of it, not observing, not analyzing, just being, as if the entire reef has paused its breath to make room for yours. And then the reef exhales. A long, slow wave of energy moves through the region, causing the coral to shimmer and the clouds to curl in soft spirals. The light becomes more fluid, the colors deepening. Your ship drifts again, rising with the tide of that breath, flowing forward once more. You pass through a narrow veil of light, and the reef begins to thin. The structures drift farther apart. The clouds become wisps. The coral dissolves into dust. The sky opens. You are moving past the reef now. Behind you, its gentle glow fades slowly, like a city of lights, seen from far away, disappearing one ripple at a time. Ahead, another expanse, another chapter. But for now, you float on the edge of that reef, its warmth still lingering in your bones, its breath still echoing softly in your mind. You have not spoken in hours. You haven't needed to. You are drifting still, and the stars are not yet finished. The reef has vanished behind you now. Its luminous coral towers and whispering clouds absorbed into distance, into memory, into silence. Space stretches open again, wide and slow, a return to the deeper dark. The stars are fewer here, not gone, just resting softly glowing like coals beneath ash. The galaxy has inhaled and you are floating inside its paws. The ship, ever gentle, follows a path not marked by charts or coordinates, but by sensation. You do not guide it. It guides itself, like a vessel that listens for gravity's quiet voice. You are not its pilot. You are its passenger. You are resting within it, and it is resting within the sky. And then far ahead, nestled within the fold of a faint, quiet nebula, a single shape begins to emerge. Round, still, pale. A moon. It floats alone, not orbiting anything, not followed by debris or light. It is a hollow moon, motionless in the deep silence of forgotten space. And it waits as only ancient things can wait, with patience shaped by centuries, and silence that bends time. The ship approaches slowly. There is no urgency. The surface of the moon is smooth, a soft pearlescent gray, like stone worn by eons of windless eternity. No craters, no scars, just curves, the kind of surface that has been allowed to dream uninterrupted. From a distance, it looks like an eye forever closed, content in endless sleep. The ship draws closer, and the hollowness reveals itself. A great opening rests on the far side of the moon, perfectly round, rimmed in pale crystal that glows faintly from within. Not a crater, not a wound, a doorway, an invitation. The interior is shadowed, but not dark, lit by a subtle glow, like moonlight reflected from within itself. Without resistance, the ship enters. Inside the moon, the space is vast, an open cavity of polished stone and glimmering air, wide enough to house cities but utterly empty. It does not feel abandoned. It feels preserved. The walls curve inward endlessly, like the inside of a pearl, and at their center floats a single object, a sphere of perfect silence, suspended by no mechanism, held in place by the balance of stillness. This is the core of the hollow moon. The sphere spins slowly, its surface covered in tiny ridges, like grooves on a record, or the delicate etching of sound into stone. The ship hovers before it, and the vibrations begin. Not loud, not even audible. Just a pressure in the chest, a ripple in the air, like hearing something through memory alone. And then, the echo begins. It starts low, a single pulsing tone stretched across time. Then, another joins it, higher, softer, layered, just beneath. And another. Each tone echoes through the ship, through you, forming a harmony made not of music, but of time. These are the echo wells. The core records everything, not as words, as images, but as sound. Each layer of the sphere holds echoes from long ago, voices of comets passing, the stretch of starlight as it leaves a dying sun, the silent spiral of galaxies drifting apart. The moon has listened for eons. It has heard the dreams of space and kept them safe inside its hollow heart. You listen, and the echoes pass through you. There is no need to understand them. They are not for translation. They are feelings. Tones made of quiet wonder. Tones that ask for nothing and offer only presence. You hear the hum of an ancient civilization's final beacon, still blinking faintly in some distant quadrant. You feel the vibration of a world turning inside its icy cocoon, waiting for a sun it will never see. You sense the ripple of your own journey, every loop, Every spiral, every breath, held softly in the grooves of the moon. Time bends inside the hollow moon. You float within it, no longer tied to minutes or hours. You are drifting between beats of a universe-sized heart, a rhythm too slow for clocks. The longer you remain, the more echoes you hear. Faint laughter from a ship long lost, a lullaby sung into the dark by someone waiting for light, a goodbye whispered between stars. The sphere pulses once more, and then slowly, softly, the hum fades. The moon has shared what it chose to share. The ship turns, lifting gently toward the exit. As you drift back into open space, the entry ring shimmers behind you, fading into the pearl-like skin of the moon once more. It is as if you were never there, as if nothing happened, and yet, you carry it. The hum lingers like warmth long after the fire has gone out. You are quieter now, not emptier, fuller, but with silence, with meaning that does not need words. The stars return, not many, not bright, just enough. And between them, soft bands of translucent shadow, waves of nothingness that ripple ever so gently like the ghost of wind across the surface of a still pond. The ship floats through them with ease, the hollow echo still vibrating faintly beneath your thoughts. A soft signal pulses in the distance. Not a distress call, not a warning. Just a note, long and slow, held in perfect tone. The ship turns toward it, following not a message but a feeling. As you glide forward, the light of the stars begins to stretch. Not because you're moving faster, but because space itself is lengthening, like the slow inhale of a sleeping giant. You pass through a translucent curtain of glowing dust. It wraps around the ship like a veil, and for a moment, you are surrounded by infinite points of light, tiny particles suspended in motion, unmoving. Each one catches starlight and sends it dancing across the walls in slow, lazy arcs. You breathe in, you breathe out. There is no need to speak. No need to think, only to drift. And still the ship moves, gently, slowly, toward the next quiet wonder waiting in the void. The echoes of the hollow moon fade behind you, a hush falling over space that is even deeper than before. Your ship drifts once more through the quiet void, where the stars breathe like living things, slowly expanding, gently contracting, their light diffused like the glow of old candles flickering behind frosted glass. Nothing is urgent here. Nothing pushes forward. Time has become liquid again, pooling in gentle waves beneath the hull as the universe continues to unfold with delicate grace. You pass a thin veil of iridescent gas, soft as spider silk, stretching across space like a curtain drawn between galaxies. The light here is dim and soothing, casting everything in a pale aquamarine glow. You watch it roll across the surface of the ship, dimming the silver into pale pearl as though space itself is inviting you to fall deeper into stillness. A slow yawn seems to echo across the stars, and with it you feel your body relax even more fully into the chair, the walls of the ship, the very air. Beyond the veil, a faint curve begins to rise in the distance. At first you mistake it for a horizon, a dark crescent set against the scatter of stars. But as you drift closer, its true nature begins to reveal itself. It is not a planet, not quite, nor a star. It is something in between, something ancient, immense, and still. It is the sleeping giant, a colossal object, suspended in space and slumbering within the cradle of its own gravity. Larger than any moon you've seen, smaller than a sun. It hovers with the heavy silence of a mountain resting beneath the sea. The surface is smooth in places, jagged in others, like an immense sculpture left unfinished by the hands of time. Portions of it shimmer with frozen metals, pale gold and tarnished bronze, while other areas are coated in crystalline frost that catches the faint light and fractures it into slow-moving rainbows. Your ship slows as it approaches. It's not out of caution, It's out of respect. Something in the gravity here suggests reverence, not fear, not danger, just a profound, quiet awe. As if you've stumbled upon a sacred space, where movement must be measured and sound forgotten. The ship joins a wide, stable orbit around the giant, entering a path that circles it slowly, gracefully, like a satellite that has known this route for millennia. From this vantage, the details become clearer. Across the surface of the giant are patterns, deep grooves and wide canyons, carved with geometric precision. They spiral inwards, curve into impossible angles, connect in ways that suggest purpose, intention, memory. They are too regular to be natural, but too vast and weathered to be anything newly built. Some pulse faintly with soft light, rhythmic and slow, almost like breath. The giant is not dead. It is not a ruin. It is sleeping. Around the giant, a ring of debris floats in silent procession, but it is not random. The fragments are spaced too evenly, following paths too harmonious. They are arranged like guardians, like pieces of a great mobile turning in perfect balance. Among them drift strange forms, arches, crystalline shards, panels like stained glass, suspended in air. They shimmer and spin in slow, deliberate circles, catching light in patterns that play across the surface of the giant's body. The ship moves into this orbital dance. Your vessel joins the procession, becoming one more floating piece in this timeless current. As it does, the world outside grows quieter still. Even the hum of the ship seems to fade into the background, replaced by something deeper, a silence so full, so complete it becomes a sound of its own, the kind of silence that makes you aware of your own heartbeat, your own breath, the simple act of existing. You drift past a colossal chasm in the surface of the giant, wide enough to swallow mountains, and yet its edges are clean, deliberate. The walls are layered with minerals that shimmer like mica, each layer revealing a different hue from deep emerald to pale rose. A soft glow radiates from within, illuminating the cavern without any clear source. You pass above it slowly, peering into the depths where the light becomes mist, and the mist becomes nothing. On the far side of the orbit, you encounter what appears to be a monument, a single towering spire rising from the surface, impossibly thin at its base, widening gently toward the top, where it forms a smooth, flat disc. It spins slowly, catching the light of distant stars and casting it in beams that shimmer across space, like slow-moving searchlights. It is unclear what it was for. Perhaps it served no function at all, beyond simply being beautiful. Perhaps it is a signal, a mirror, a memory. The ship circles again, completing another wide pass around the giant's surface. This time you notice something different, a rhythm, a pulse not of light, but of time itself. Your instruments flicker faintly, not in alarm but in recognition. The flow of time here is uneven. It bends in shallow waves, dipping in some places and rising in others, as if the giant's sleep is not passive, but alive, dreaming in waves that ripple through the fabric of the void. Your ship moves closer to one of these temporal pools, drifting into the shallows of slow time. Instantly, everything eases even further. Your thoughts begin to stretch. Each second feels like a minute, not in slowness, but in fullness. You become aware of the smallest details, the shimmer of dust across the console, the soft sound of your own breathing, the light shifting across the floor in slow motion. It is as if the universe is asking you to notice everything. You do not resist. You float in this pool of time, letting it expand around you. It is not uncomfortable. It is like resting at the bottom of a deep lake, your body suspended, your senses open. You begin to feel the thoughts of the place, not as words but as sensations. The passage of ancient light across stone, the memory of warmth, long gone, the quiet weight of ages curled into sleep. The sleeping giant dreams, and you for a while are part of those dreams. Outside the window, small lights begin to appear. They drift upward from the giant's surface, one by one, small orbs of faint blue glow. They rise slowly, like lanterns lifted by invisible hands, floating into the space above the giant and circling it like fireflies. There are hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They do not flicker. They shine steadily, Their light, soft and full of calm. Your ship drifts through them. And as it does, the orbs respond not by scattering but by parting slightly, opening a pathway for you to pass through. Each orb emits a frequency, a gentle vibration that touches the ship's hull like the pluck of a harp string. You feel it more than hear it. Each tone is slightly different, but they form a harmony so deep and slow it feels like the galaxy humming to itself in its sleep. This is the song of the giant. You do not understand it, but you feel it. You remain within the orbit of the sleeping giant for what might be hours or years or mere moments. It is impossible to say. Time is not measured here. Only presence, only breath. Eventually, the ship begins to drift outward again, not away, but onward. The light of the orbs begins to fade behind you, dissolving back into the star field. The orbit loosens. The gravitational cradle softens its hold, and the ship is carried forward by new, gentle currents. The giant remains behind, still sleeping, still dreaming, its slow breath continuing beneath the rhythm of distant galaxies. You carry its silence with you. Its song lingers in the empty spaces between your thoughts, and ahead, space opens wide again. A new horizon appears, soft, gold-tinted dust, coiling around a dark void, like a nebula wrapped around silence itself. Another mystery, another quiet. But you do not hurry. You drift, always drifting, always dreaming. The orbit of the sleeping giant fades behind you, dissolving like a long-held breath finally released. The ship continues its unbroken drift through the still canvas of deep space, its gentle hum barely noticeable. A thread of comfort stitched into the quiet. Around you, the stars return in their soft multitude, distant, diffused, and draped across the cosmos like embers scattered in water. They do not shine to be seen. They shine simply because they are. You pass through a long stretch of stillness where the galaxy feels stretched thin, as if the light has grown tired and the void has thickened into a tranquil fog. There is no movement here, no current, no sign of direction. It is a space between thoughts, a pause. The drifting feels slower, though it is not. You are suspended in a kind of celestial waiting room, lulled into serenity by the lack of definition. Then, in the far distance, something darker than space itself appears. Not a void, not an absence, but a shape, large, circular, and faintly glowing at its edges. At first, it looks like an eclipse with no sun, a ring of faint amber light surrounding a hollow that does not reflect, does not shimmer, does not speak. It merely exists. A smooth blackness, perfectly still, perfectly round, and it calls to you not with urgency, but with a slow pull, like the moon tugs at a tide without ever touching it. The ship obeys, gently, calmly. This is the cradle in the dark. You draw closer, and the glowing ring becomes clearer. It is not a ring of fire or light. It is made of thousands, perhaps millions of thin threads of golden mist, all spiraling slowly around the central void. These threads shimmer like strands of silk caught in candlelight, twisting and folding around one another in slow, choreographed motion. They do not drift away. They remain bound in orbit around the darkness, like children encircling a sleeping parent. As your ship approaches the outer edge, you feel a shift, not a pull of gravity, but a soft change in perception. The stars outside grow dimmer, more distant. Sound inside the cabin softens even more, as if muffled by layers of starlight. Your breath feels deeper. Thought becomes less sharp. You are crossing into the cradle, and everything knows to be still here. The ship begins to follow the flow of the spiraling mist. You join the threads, gliding through the golden ring. Each strand of mist is vast, though it moves like a ribbon on the wind. Some shimmer with faint hints of color: rose, indigo, pale jade, flickering in slow pulses, like memories curling around one another. As you move among them, they shift slightly, parting for the ship without resistance. It feels like being gently carried downstream, through a river made of light. You circle slowly, following the orbit of the cradle, and then the center reveals itself, not with sudden brilliance, but with gradual quiet awe. Within the hollow core of the cradle, the blackness stirs. It is not empty. It is filled with layers of shadow, of form, of presence. Shapes rise from within it, not distinct, not defined, but suggested by the way the light bends around them. Silhouettes of ancient structures, perhaps. Towers swallowed by dark, spires that lean like sleeping giants. Bridges that arc between forms you cannot name. They do not shine, and yet you see them, not with your eyes but with something older. The cradle is not a place. It is a memory of creation, a remnant of a time before time, when matter dreamed itself into being, and light had not yet learned how to escape. The shapes within it drift slowly, each one moving through the darkness, like whales beneath an endless sea, their motion barely perceptible, their paths older than stars. The ship continues to spiral inward, closer to the center. The golden mist thins here, becoming finer, more diffuse. It clings to the surfaces of the drifting shapes, like frost on glass, outlining forms that might otherwise be lost. One structure passes beneath the ship, a vast, circular platform, covered in ridged patterns that glow faintly with static pulses. You pause above it, hovering in silence. There is no doorway, no mechanism, just presence, the suggestion of purpose, long fulfilled and long forgotten. Nearby, a slow column of light descends from an unseen source, illuminating a single form within the cradle. A cube, turning ever so gently on a diagonal axis. It is smooth and black, yet it glows faintly at the edges, as if its corners are lit from within by thought itself. Around it, orbs of faint white light circle in perfect rhythm, forming a silent constellation that rotates with meditative patience. It looks almost like a shrine. You feel no urgency to leave it. This is a place where stars once began, where the dust of galaxies was first whispered into form by silence and distance and unseen hands. The ship drifts closer to the center. Here the darkness deepens. The mist all but disappears. The ring of light you entered is now only a distant band behind you, like a dream slowly closing its eyes. The ship comes to a gentle stop, suspended in the absolute stillness of the cradle's heart. Nothing moves here, not even time. For a long while there is only this. You close your eyes, or perhaps they are already closed. There is no difference. You feel the stillness, and it feels you back. Your body relaxes into it completely, your breath becoming the only rhythm. Thoughts slow to a standstill. You are no longer a passenger, nor a traveler. You are part of the space itself, a single cell in the quiet body of the universe, resting, remembering, and then somewhere deep within the cradle, something shifts, not abruptly, not loudly, just a slow, gentle unfolding. The blackness opens slightly, not into light, but into softness. A glow begins to form, not around the ship, but within you, a warmth, small and steady, like the first ember of a kind fire. It does not spread, it simply remains, glowing quietly in the center of your chest. A reminder that you are real, that you are here, that you are welcome. The cradle is not a prison, it is a refuge. It has held stars and dust and echoes, and now it holds you. You begin to drift outward once more, the ship guided by that same unspoken understanding, as if the cradle itself has gently lifted you, like a sleeping child being returned to bed after a long dream. The golden threads reappear, fainter now, and begin to circle again around the central darkness, weaving their tapestry behind you as you move back into the wider galaxy. The stars begin to return, first as points, then as scattered fields. The light becomes stronger, but it never jars, it never rushes. You are carried gently from the cradle, not ejected, not cast out. The ship emerges as if from a dream within a dream, returning to the waking hush of space. Behind you, the cradle lingers, still turning, still holding. Its golden ring glows like the rim of a distant lantern, carried off into the folds of night. And ahead, new stars twinkle. They do not wait, they do not need to. You will arrive when it is time. For now you drift, quiet, cradled still, even in motion. The cradle falls behind, its golden ring shrinking into the distance like the final crescent of a setting moon, fading into the slow exhale of starlight. Your ship continues to drift onward, caught once again in the breath of the universe. The silence deepens, but it is no longer empty. It hums with the memory of where you've been, what you've seen, and the quiet, unspeakable things you've felt. Space stretches out like a sea without edge. The stars thin, the dust lessen, and for a while there is only the darkness again, wrapping around your ship like a velvet shawl. You drift through it slowly, gently, with no resistance. There is no rush, no schedule, no path. The galaxy is not something to be traveled through, but something to be with. A companion, quiet and vast, unfolding moment by moment. And then, like the glimmer of a stream seen from far above, a new light appears, faint at first, a shimmer on the edge of sight, a current that glows softly in the distance, weaving across the blackness like a ribbon of moonlight trailing through a forest. It winds, bends, loops gently, then stretches again, glowing with hues that shift ever so slowly, from soft gold to lilac, from pale jade to delicate silver. It has no beginning and no end. It simply exists, moving through the dark like a thought wandering through sleep. You are approaching the river of light. The ship's course adjusts subtly, not by your hand, but by something quieter, an understanding, a mutual agreement between your vessel and the current ahead. The ship eases toward the edge of the river, joining it without splash or ripple, slipping into the current like a drop returning to the sea. Immediately, everything begins to glow, not brightly, not in any harsh way. The glow is soft and omnipresent, rising from the river itself and seeping into the space around it. It wraps the ship in a gentle sheen, illuminating the hull in soft gradients, casting long, slow reflections on the glass of the viewport. Outside, the current flows in both directions, forward and back, as though time itself has looped into a gentle spiral. The river is not made of water or plasma or gas. It is composed of something finer, strands of photonic dust, particles that remember light and motion and sound. Each one glimmers with faint memory, reacting to your presence not with alarm but with curiosity. They part for the ship in long strands, swirling slowly in its wake, forming eddies and curls that shimmer and fade. You are not disturbing the river. You are becoming part of it. All around you the current widens, revealing the structure of the river's flow. It is not a straight path, but a wandering journey through space. It curves gently around clusters of sleeping stars, weaves between thin nebular clouds that hang like sheer curtains, and dips below drifting, glittering shoals of ice. The river responds to everything, wrapping around the galaxy's forgotten corners with the grace of something that has been flowing forever. Ahead, the river splits, two paths. One veers upward, into a stretch of silver mist that curls like slow smoke. The other dips lower, through a tunnel of deep violet starlight that pulses faintly in time with your breath. The ship pauses, hovering between the two streams, as though asking you to choose. But then, before you can form a thought, both paths gently rejoin again in the distance, spiraling around one another like twin strands of silk. They are not options. They are verses in the same song. You follow both. The ship slips into the spiral. Here, the current becomes even more delicate. Tiny lights drift past your window, no larger than motes of dust, but each glowing with its own hue, its own rhythm. They blink and pulse as they pass, some in short bursts, others in long, lazy intervals. One glows in steady rose gold, another in a slow fade from indigo to white. You realize they are not random. They are memories. Each one is a trace of something left behind. A spark of joy, a word spoken in love, a whisper sent across light years and forgotten. The river holds them, and carries them, and keeps them safe. Somewhere within the current, the light thickens into long strands, threads of luminescent silk that twirl slowly in space. They drift alongside the ship, sometimes wrapping around it like a gentle embrace, other times spiraling away into the dark. Some form shapes, the curve of a spiral galaxy rendered in gold, a perfect circle of light, turning endlessly, a flickering pattern that feels like a lullaby you once heard in a dream. You lean closer to the window, and one of the threads bends toward you, glowing with a warm, amber light. It doesn't speak, not in words, but you feel it, a wave of comfort, of peace, of something quietly beautiful. You close your eyes, and the feeling remains. A stillness within stillness, a calm so deep it becomes part of your breath. The ship continues forward, the spiral widening. Here, the river opens into a vast plain of drifting light, a lake in space, where the current slows and deepens. The flow becomes gentle, almost imperceptible. The lights gather here, forming great shapes across the sky. Some are familiar, the outline of a planet, a crescent moon, a sleeping figure curled in starlight. Others are more abstract, sacred geometry in motion, shifting slowly from one form to the next, like space itself is meditating. The ship comes to rest at the center of this glowing plain. It hovers in silence, surrounded by threads and lights, and soft reflections. Time loses shape, minutes, hours, days. They are not measured here. There is only presence, only the soft rhythm of the river, and the glow of ancient memories turning gently in the dark. You sit in stillness, the hum of the ship blending into the pulse of the current. Outside, the lights begin to change, growing fainter, softer, cooler. The river is dimming, slowly drawing its veil once more, as if inviting you to rest. You let your eyes close, not out of fatigue, but because the world around you has grown so soft it no longer needs to be seen. You drift, you breathe, you rest, and as the ship gently pulls free from the plain and continues along the river's path, you carry with you the quiet glow of everything you've seen. The gentle current continues. The lights grow sparse again. The edges of the river begin to fade into the wider galaxy, the current thinning, the colors softening, until only the memory of light remains. Behind you, the river of light continues to flow. It will flow long after you've passed through it. It will hold the echoes of stars, of dreams, of quiet moments, never spoken aloud. And ahead, the galaxy waits, always, not in silence, not in darkness, but in patience, always drifting, always unfolding, always glowing with the quiet beauty of forgotten things. The river of light tapers off gradually, not ending, but thinning into strands so fine they become indistinguishable from the space around them. One by one, the drifting motes of color dim, dissolving into the background like whispers remembered just before sleep. The glow softens to the point that you wonder if it ever existed at all, or if the memory of its warmth now lives only in your breath. The ship glides gently forward, emerging into a stretch of space where even the stars seem to hesitate. There is no glow here, no shimmer, only vastness, a deep, smooth dark, untouched and quiet, where time curls into itself and waits. Your vessel slows, not in resistance but out of reverence, adjusting its course like a soft bow to the silence. The emptiness ahead is not a void. It is not lifeless or forgotten. It is perfectly still. And in that stillness, you begin to notice them. Shapes. Faint, motionless silhouettes suspended in the dark. At first, only a few, then dozens, then hundreds. All perfectly round, hovering at great distances from each other, and all glowing with the faintest trace of light. Some shimmer with soft gold, others with gentle blue or aged copper. None of them move, not even the smallest quiver. They are spheres, massive and hushed, scattered across space like seeds laid gently in a sleeping field. You have entered the vault of stilled suns. It is not a place known by name or chart. It doesn't call attention to itself. It merely waits, and those who wander into its presence find themselves slowing, breathing more deeply, thinking less with the mind and more with the space between thought. The ship adjusts course again, approaching one of the stilled suns that looms nearby. a giant sphere with a surface like brushed metal, dulled by the absence of flame. It once burned, long ago, brighter than most. Now it rests, its core cooled into permanence, its brilliance folded inward like a page gently closed. As you draw closer, its surface reveals texture, bands of darkened light, as though the memory of fire still lives within its shell. These are not dead stars, not collapsed remnants of fury and collapse. They are something else entirely. They are stars that chose to stop, suns that slowed their pulses until even time could not hear them anymore. They are still but not empty. Within each one, something continues, something deep and slow and aware, a long sleep beyond lifetimes. Your ship floats within the orbit of the closest one, tracing a gentle arc. From this distance, the star's stillness radiates outward. There is no sound, no vibration, only the knowledge of mass, of presence, of a history deeper than measurement. The silence is so complete that it fills your thoughts with a kind of low hum, not unlike the quiet between breaths. You drift closer, and now the surface begins to change. Patches of faint light emerge, patterns etched in dim illumination, like constellations carved onto its shell. As the ship orbits slowly, those patterns shift, revealing intricate arrangements of line and curve, each one turning as the star turns, revealing more as you move with it. It becomes clear that the surface is not random. It is a story, told in frozen brilliance. The language is unfamiliar, and yet you feel it resonate deep within your awareness. It is not meant to be read in words. It is felt in stillness, a spiral that winds inward, then outward again, a wave that breaks gently across eternity. You understand without understanding that this is not the story of the star, but the story it chose to become. The ship continues on. One stilled sun becomes many. You drift slowly past the next, and the next, each one unique, each one silent, each one resting in its own orbit of meaning. Some are smooth and glass-like, reflecting the distant stars like forgotten pools. Others are etched with fractures of ancient heat, lines where light once tried to escape and failed. A few glow slightly more brightly, pulsing once every long while with a heartbeat so slow, you must wait for minutes before the next pulse comes. You wait, you watch, you breathe. Between the suns, long threads of dust and light connect them, faint bridges of glowing filament, stretched across the darkness like strands of thought. They form an unseen web, binding the stars to one another not by force but by memory. As you pass between them, your ship disturbs nothing. The threads drift in place, undisturbed by your presence, as if you have been expected for longer than you have existed. One sphere, larger than the rest, looms ahead. It is darker. Its light does not pulse. Its surface does not reflect. It is coated in something like shadow, like sleep so deep, even light has forgotten it. Yet you are drawn toward it, slowly, carefully, the ship approaching with the reverence of someone entering a sacred hall. As you near the surface, something shifts, not in movement, but in sensation. The interior is not solid. The stilled sun is hollow. The ship descends through a thin membrane, entering the interior of the great sphere. The light here is dim but present, suspended in long filaments that drift slowly from floor to ceiling, if such concepts still apply. The inside of the sphere is lined with great rings, stacked one within another, each etched with markings too delicate to decipher. They spin ever so slowly, forming a slow orrery of knowledge, a library not of books or sound, but of stillness. This is the heart of the vault. Inside there is no up or down, no forward or backward. The ship floats, suspended within the inner chamber. All motion slows, the cabin dims, even thought feels further away, replaced by a deeper awareness. You feel the presence of watchers, not beings, not minds, but impressions, recorded here by the stars themselves. You are surrounded by eons of stillness. Each sun that rests in this vault has contributed to this center, has folded a memory into the hollow space, and left it here to echo in quiet. One of the rings begins to shimmer, not brightly, just enough to notice. It turns slightly faster, and from its surface, a single band of light extends toward your ship, as if offering a hand or asking to be heard. The ship does not move, but something open, a field of memory, projected softly before you. You see a vast field of light, burning, dancing, rising and falling. Not fire, not chaos, but purpose. A star in its full brilliance, giving freely. Light pouring outward, shaping planets, feeding moons, warming frozen dust into river. And then with grace, the light folding inward again, not in collapse, but in surrender. A sun that did not die, but chose stillness, chose to rest, chose to hold its story in silence. The memory fades, the ring returns to its slow rotation, and the ship, as if in response, begins to rise again, gently passing back through the interior of the hollow sun. Outside, the vault waits, silent and unchanged. You drift once more between the stilled suns. They do not shine, yet they glow. They do not move, yet they endure. And in their stillness, they offer you a gift not often found among the stars. Rest without loss, peace without end, presence without demand. You pass slowly through the final reaches of the vault, where the stilled suns thin into darkness again. The threads of light become sparse, the silence deepens once more. And then without ceremony, the vault is behind you. The ship continues into the wider galaxy. The stars return, distant and soft. The quiet remains with you, like a blanket tucked around your thoughts. You are not alone, not lost. You are simply adrift in the long, slow song of a universe that remembers how to rest. You are part of it now, part of the stillness, part of the space between stars, and still you drift.
The vault of stilled suns fades into the distance, absorbed once more by the folds of space that press gently on every horizon. Its hushed, ancient glow still lingers faintly in the mind, not as a memory with shape or sound, but as a sensation, the way a stone retains the warmth of the sun long after dusk has settled, the way silence carries meaning even after the voice is gone. Your ship drifts beyond the last of the dim, frozen stars, its curved form once again an unnoticed part of the great cosmic breath. Space opens before you, wide and slow. It is darker here, not oppressive, not void of wonder, but deeper, as though the light has taken a few quiet steps backward to allow something else to come forward. The stars return in scattered clusters, faint and far between, suspended in a deep velvet that feels heavier somehow. The blackness carries weight, but it is not burden. It is invitation, a curtain, drawn back in quiet ceremony. You feel it before you see it. A gradual change in the fabric of space, a soft vibration that tingles beneath thought, like the echo of footsteps in a cavern larger than the sky. Your vessel begins to turn, not quickly, not decisively, just a slight shift in its course, tilting downward, as if responding to a pull beneath the surface of space. As it descends into this new depth, the stars above begin to fade slightly, blurring at the edges like the first fall of mist. Below, the darkness condenses into suggestion, shapes that loom but do not threaten, outlines too vast to measure, too silent to ignore. One of them grows larger, stretching wide beneath your path. Not a planet, not a structure, a place hollowed out by time and filled with something that cannot be named. You are approaching the Cathedral of Dust. The name isn't spoken. It arrives without sound, like a thought placed in your mind by something old and still and watching. The shape of the cathedral becomes clearer as the mist grows thicker, its outline rising like the broken ribs of a world long turned to ash. Vast arches stretch outward into the dark, half submerged in the drifting dust that fills this region of space. Towering spires rise crookedly, their tips lost in the low, swirling haze, while enormous vaults and domes sag beneath the weight of time. The ship slows to a respectful crawl. As you drift closer, you begin to see the finer texture. Every surface, every beam and wall, every shattered window is coated in layers of dust. Not the kind that falls and settles, but the kind that hangs in place, suspended in the low gravity of this forgotten place, drifting slowly in eddies formed by the breath of passing stars. The dust glows faintly, pulsing in response to your movement, not with urgency, but with attention. You are not the first to enter. You may not be the last, but you are welcome. Inside the cathedral, the ship floats through what might once have been a nave. Now a great open hall with fractured ceilings and walls pierced by ancient cracks. Thin beams of starlight manage to filter through broken vaults above, catching the dust in long golden shafts that slice through the darkness, like the quiet light of a setting sun. The effect is breathtaking. Time has no grip here. Nothing decays, nothing grows. Everything simply rests. To the left, a collapsed colonnade leans into a bank of drifting haze. The stone pillars eroded into curves, their edges softened by eons of stillness. The dust does not obscure them, but rather surrounds them with reverence. The arches between them remain intact, forming long repeating shadows that sway gently. As your ship passes, you drift lower, tilting to observe carvings etched in a language unspoken, perhaps unreadable, and yet the lines carry meaning in their shape. Not words, but gestures. Grace in stone. On the far side of the cathedral, a circular platform hangs suspended by nothing but memory. It spins slowly, like a forgotten altar. Upon its surface, a spiral of smaller stones encircles a central figure, unmoving, half buried in drifting powder. It could be a statue, it could be a sentinel, it might even be a sleeping traveler, long since surrendered to the rhythm of this place. Whatever it is, it rests here peacefully, and the dust dances around it like a quiet vigil. Above, the spires continue, some fractured, some whole. They stretch upward into the dim mist, forming twisted silhouettes against the thin curtain of stars beyond. Here and there, tiny lights blink softly from within their broken forms. Soft amber flickers. Not mechanical, not artificial, organic perhaps, or something simpler. Memories condensed into light, trapped within the walls. You pass beneath them and feel a subtle pull. Not to approach, not to change direction, but to remember. You pause, letting the ship hover. Outside the viewport, the dust continues to drift in graceful spirals, stirred gently by your presence. Within the motion, you begin to see patterns, arcs, spirals, waves. They repeat and evolve, never the same but never unfamiliar. You realize, slowly, that you are watching the movement of thought. The cathedral is not empty, it is thinking. Not as a mind thinks, but as the ocean remembers tides. Every gust, every current of dust is the whisper of something old and massive dreaming beneath the surface. Your ship drifts through a passage, where the light filters in through a great breach in the cathedral's wall. The dust thickens here, forming great rolling clouds that pulse softly in hues of bronze and pearl. Within them, objects drift, fragments of past visitors perhaps, or pieces of the cathedral itself. A cracked dome, still etched with symbols. A bent piece of metal so old it has taken on the texture of stone. A long silent bell hanging from a thread of fractured crystal, swaying with no wind. Further in, the structure grows stranger. Walls twist and lean, staircases spiral sideways, vaulted ceilings fold downward, hanging like inverted sails. Gravity is unsure of itself here, or perhaps it has grown tired of holding to one direction. The ship moves slowly through this tangled space, adjusting without resistance. You pass a chamber where the dust forms a constant spiral, never settling, never dispersing. At its center, a sphere of dark stone floats, unmoving, as if holding the entire spiral in place through nothing but presence. You don't know what it is, but you understand it belongs here. There is music here too. You begin to hear it, not as a song but as a sensation. It comes not from one source, but from all things. The gentle hum of stone, the sigh of dust, the soft flicker of faraway stars catching on forgotten windows. It is low, warm, slow, a resonance that seeps into the ship, into your skin, into the quiet space between each heartbeat. It doesn't ask for attention, it simply exists, and in its presence, everything else becomes still. You float deeper into the cathedral's heart. Here, the space opens again, forming a vast rotunda enclosed by ribbed arches that stretch out like the arms of a resting giant. In the center, a fountain of dust rises, not from any mechanism, but from the natural shape of time passing through the room. It moves upward in a slow spiral, endlessly recycling itself, catching light from every direction and turning it into soft glow. Your ship stops here, hovering in the stillness. No more movement is needed, no more travel. This is not a place to move through. This is a place to stay, to rest, Time slows again. You breathe, you sit, you wait. Outside, the cathedral continues to drift through the galaxy, untouched by gravity's pull, unchanged by the passing of ages. It is a memory suspended in motion, a relic of something forgotten, built not by hands but by the spaces between stars. The dust swirls, the silence sings, and you, for now, are part of it. Not watching, not understanding, just drifting, just resting, held in the soft arms of the Cathedral of Dust.
The Cathedral of Dust fades behind you as quietly as it first arrived, its ancient spires and arches dissolving into the distance, shrouded once again in drifting haze and the gentle spiral of ever-settling dust. You carry it with you now, not as a memory shaped by image or word, but as a slow and steady stillness folded into the rhythm of your breath. The ship rises gently, drifting up through the final layers of powdered silence, leaving behind the sacred hush of that slumbering monument. As you glide onward into the deep and waiting dark, the stars above begin to shift faintly at first, then more noticeably as your path curves away from the shadowed vaults and toward a stretch of space unlike any other you've passed through. There is a subtle tremor in the air now. Not fear, not danger, just a soft anticipation, like the sensation that stirs the skin before a snowfall begins. The emptiness ahead holds a peculiar quality, as though light itself moves more slowly here, and time forgets to follow its usual rhythm. Even the stars seem quieter, pulsing with longer intervals, suspended in a thicker kind of silence. As the ship glides forward, the dark changes hue. It is no longer black, not truly. A pale tint emerges, diffused and quiet, as though the whole of space were wrapped in a thin veil of fog. But this is no mist, no gas, no material thing at all. This is the veil of pale time. You pass into it without friction, your vessel slowing once again as if in recognition of the space you now enter. The veil is not a wall, but a layer, long and deep and subtly shifting. Everything inside it seems muted, as though viewed through frosted glass. The stars still shine, but they are soft now, their light slowed, their flicker drawn out into gentle waves. Space itself breathes here in longer intervals. It sighs instead of speaks. Your ship does not resist. It floats gently, allowing the currents, if you could call them that, to guide its motion. Within the veil, vision grows more delicate. Shapes begin to form in the haze, not objects with clear structure, but impressions, outlines of things not quite present, not entirely real. They shift slowly, as though remembering themselves from long ago. Some resemble the gentle curves of planets, others like drifting sails stretched across the sky. Their forms are always in flux, moving with the rhythm of the veil, impossible to capture fully with the eye. The air within the ship feels denser now, not heavy, just fuller, as though it carries more than oxygen. Perhaps time itself has thickened around you. Perhaps you've floated into the memory of the galaxy, a place where the universe stores what it once was and might one day be again. The veil grows brighter,
not from a source of light, but from the veil itself. It glows softly with a light that is neither inside nor outside the ship. It is a radiance that exists without casting shadows, as if the veil has folded light and darkness into one another, resolving them into something more complete. The glow bathes everything in a tone of peace, touching the metal of the vessel, your reflection in the viewport, the silence itself. You begin to hear something, faint and slow, almost below the threshold of sound. It is not a hum, not a song, not even a vibration. It is the slow shifting of moments, unfolding one into the next, without any edges. It is the sound of time itself, slowed to a crawl, sighing through the folds of space. It doesn't disturb you, quite the opposite. It lulls you further into calm. Your thoughts begin to stretch. Your breath becomes deeper without your noticing. You stop wondering what lies ahead. You stop remembering what lies behind. There is only the soft now, stretched long like evening shadows. Shapes begin to resolve within the veil. At first they seem distant, too far to comprehend, but slowly they draw nearer, not by motion, but by invitation. One appears like the outline of a city made of clouds, with towers that twist and lean, their forms rippling softly like the surface of a lake stirred by sleep. Another resembles a great wheel, spinning so slowly it might take centuries to complete a single rotation. The spaces within its arc glow faintly, pulsing with a pale blue rhythm that matches nothing you can measure. The ship glides past these images without touching them. They remain unreachable, suspended just beyond the veil's deeper folds, as if stitched into the fabric of space by dreams too fragile to unfold. You realize in that moment that these are not structures at all. They are echoes, reflections not of matter, but of time. The veil is not a place, it is a memory, stretched across the galaxy, holding within it all the things too old to remain and too beloved to let go. There are people here too, not bodies, not voices, impressions, shapes that drift past the windows like silhouettes seen through fog. Some walk slowly, with heads bowed, not in sorrow, but in quiet thought. Others move in ways that suggest flight or dance, their forms trailing faint strands of light that twist and dissolve behind them. They do not see you, or perhaps they do but no longer feel the need to respond. They have become part of the veil, now, part of the slow song of time that echoes through this region like mist rolling over ancient hills. You do not feel alone, you feel remembered. The ship continues to move through the veil, not quickly, not urgently, but with a certainty that suggests it has been here before. The glow outside shifts slowly, moving from pale blue to soft pearl, from silver to the faintest gold. There are no stars now, only the veil, and yet you do not miss them. Their light has been replaced by something gentler, something closer. You are not passing through space, you are drifting through feeling. Far ahead, a deeper glow emerges, as if the veil itself is thin. The ship responds, adjusting its angle slightly, aligning itself with the subtle shift in density. The glow grows slowly, taking on shape, not a star, not a light source, but a window, a great opening in the veil, wide and round, pulsing gently like the eye of some vast sleeping guardian. Within it, the veil parts to reveal a chamber beyond, suspended within the heart of space. You cross the threshold, and everything becomes still. The chamber is vast, a sphere of space surrounded by the soft folds of the veil, its walls composed not of matter, but of motionless light. Within it floats a single object, a perfect orb of crystal, turning slowly in place. It is not large, not bright, but it holds your attention completely. Around it, the veil stops moving. Time does not flow here. The ship hovers nearby, motionless now, floating within the breathless calm of this suspended moment. You watch the orb and feel something shift inside you. Not a change, not a realization, but a loosening, the unraveling of a tension you never knew you carried, the soft release of something you had long forgotten you were holding. The orb turns, within it shapes flicker, tiny stars turning galaxies, the bloom of nebulas folding inward like petals at dusk. It is not a map, It is not a record. It is the memory of time itself, held gently within the quiet core of the veil. You watch it turn, and as you do, you begin to feel it share something with you. Not a thought, not a message, just presence, a quiet agreement between your breath and the breath of the galaxy. A reminder that you are not passing through this journey. You are part of it. The orb continues its slow rotation, and for a long time you remain there, adrift beside it, held in the center of the veil where time no longer moves. You are no longer a traveler, nor an observer. You are simply here, present, at rest. Eventually the ship begins to move again. No sound, no motion that you feel, just the slow return to motion. Like the moment when the tide turns beneath the surface. The orb fades behind you, swallowed once more by the folds of the veil. The glow returns, the shapes dissolve, the silhouettes disappear into the mist, and the veil begins to thin. Light returns, slowly. The stars become visible again. Blinking softly through the dissolving haze, the veil releases you, not with force, but with tenderness, like a dream letting go of sleep. The ship rises from its soft embrace, carrying you forward once more, back into the broader galaxy, still adrift, still dreaming, still wrapped in the long and gentle hush of forgotten life.
The veil falls away like a soft curtain drawn back at the end of a long, gentle night, dissolving without resistance, without sound, until even the memory of its shimmer is gone. Your ship drifts into a clearer stretch of space, where the stars return in full presence, sharp and defined, blinking across the sky like watchful eyes newly opened. The hush remains, but now it is lighter, filled with the subtle promise of motion, the suggestion of direction. Something new is forming ahead, not from chaos, but from a quiet design, long hidden and now slowly revealing itself to you. At first, it appears as a thin line in the distance, barely visible against the backdrop of the cosmos. A sliver of light that seems to stretch downward from nowhere, like a single strand of silk suspended in gravityless stillness. But as your vessel approaches, the line grows wider, deeper, until it becomes apparent that it is not a strand at all, but a well. A vertical shaft carved into space itself, spiraling with light, spinning with layers that descend far below anything you can see. You are approaching the star well. It is not a tunnel in any conventional sense. There is no surface, no walls, no mechanical structure guiding its form. The well is composed entirely of spiraling bands of starlight, curving gently downward in concentric rings. The colors within them shift slowly: white, blue, soft violet, muted amber, each hue forming a layer of the vast funnel that drops into what appears to be a single point of blackness far below. There is no motion, yet the entire well feels alive, as though the light is aware of its own shape, its own spiral. Your ship floats at the edge of the uppermost ring. There is no urgency to descend, but the stillness invites you. The center of the well pulses with a faint glow, like the dim eye of a deep, sleeping star. There is no sound, no warning, just the gravityless pull of curiosity, the hum of beauty so profound, it asks for nothing but your attention. You drift forward. The ship crosses the threshold of the first spiral. Immediately, the world around you begins to bend, not with distortion or confusion, but with grace. The stars above soften, the rings below stretch out, and you begin to circle, slowly at first, then gently falling inward as though caught in a spiral of thought. The vessel does not accelerate. It glides down the layers, each one gently pushing you deeper into the well, guiding your path like invisible hands carrying a sleeping traveler. Within the rings, things begin to appear. Fragments of star systems, hovering between the spirals, single planets, isolated moons, broken asteroids, suspended mid-collapse, all held perfectly still in their descent. One world, glowing faintly with red mineral light, turns slowly as you pass, revealing tall stone spires rising from its surface like fingers reaching out to touch the spiral. Another is cloaked in mist, its surface invisible, but its motion so calm it seems to exhale with each rotation. These are not ordinary objects, they are remnants,
preserved in this slow fall through starlight. As you descend deeper, the rings widen, more distance separates each spiral, and the spaces between them fill with delicate patterns, webs of light strung between points, like musical strings stretched across silence. As the ship passes through them, they resonate faintly, not as sound, but as vibration, subtle and warm, like the memory of a song playing in a distant room. These vibrations pass through you, not discomfort, but presence. They are the voices of the Starwell, welcoming you without words. The descent continues. You pass structures, strange shapes, floating within the spirals, massive constructs of crystal and shadow, each one slowly turning on its own axis. Some resemble open hands, palm upward, fingers spread in offering. Others are vast circles, thin as paper and hundreds of kilometers wide, etched with unreadable markings that catch the starlight and reflected in complex, shifting patterns. None of them block your path. They drift beside the spiral, watching silently, as though bearing witness to all who pass. You begin to notice something else. With each ring you pass through, something changes. Not visibly, not immediately, but inwardly. You begin to feel lighter. Not in body, there is no gravity here, but in thought. A quiet is growing inside you, even deeper than before. The parts of your mind that once grasped for meaning have begun to soften their hold. You are no longer trying to understand. You are simply experiencing. Each layer of the Starwell dissolves another thread of tension, another knot of wondering. You drift downward, and with each descent, you let go a little more. The rings now pulse with greater rhythm. Their light flickers in long waves, glowing outward, and then receding again, like the gentle tides of time brushing against the shore of existence. You are not falling, you are being guided. The ship drifts with natural grace, drawn by something not mechanical, not magnetic, but soulful. A rhythm that existed long before the ship, long before you, long before anything that could be called memory. You pass a formation that stops you in your thoughts. A great hollow sphere, floating just outside the spiral. Its interior filled with slow-turning beams of translucent light. They intersect and fade, forming ever-changing geometric patterns. You cannot look away. Something inside the sphere flickers. An image, perhaps. A scene. A small campfire on a moonless plain. A single figure, sitting still. You do not know who they are, but you feel a pulse of understanding. A resonance that tells you this too is part of the well's memory. The sphere turns away, continuing its slow orbit, and the ship carries you further down. The light begins to grow warmer. Subtle golds, soft oranges, the faint rose of morning just before the sun crests a horizon. You feel it before you see it. The bottom of the Starwell, not a floor, not an end, but a single immense chamber where the spirals fade into open space, and all the light they carried now hovers in long, slow loops, suspended like ribbons caught in a breeze. In the middle of the chamber, surrounded by these radiant paths, floats a singular star. It is not burning. It does not blaze or flare. It glows steadily, gently, with the light of a heartbeat felt in sleep. A golden sphere, unmoving, not hot, not cold, just warm enough to soften your breath, to slow your pulse. This is the heart of the Starwell. Your ship stops. It does not land. There is nothing to land on. It simply hovers, joining the orbit of the inner chamber, circling the central star at a respectful distance. You watch as the ribbons of light spiral around it, each one glowing brighter as it nears the star, then dimming again as it drifts outward. The light is alive, not in body but in essence. You feel its presence, like a hand resting lightly on your shoulder, asking nothing, only staying there in comfort. You sit in silence for a long while, The chamber makes no demands. The star speaks no words, and yet you feel understood. You feel as though you've been seen without being looked at, known without having to explain anything at all. The star glows steadily, and the longer you watch, the more you realize that it too is not alone. Around it, other lights begin to appear. Small orbs, faint glows, tiny echoes drifting in and out of view. They move slowly, circling in silence. These are not visitors. These are memories, perhaps of those who came before you, perhaps of stars that once burned and chose to rest here. You cannot say, you don't need to. Eventually, the ship begins to rise again. The spirals reappear above you, and the gentle ascent begins. Not rushed, not reversed, but lifted. You feel it in your chest, a lightness that isn't physical. Something has softened inside you. Something has been quieted. You don't name it. You simply breathe, letting it remain. The starwell lifts you back into the broader reaches of space, the spirals carrying you upward in slow turn. The shapes and echoes you passed earlier fade gently, each one releasing you with a final flicker, a final pulse of light. When you finally breach the uppermost ring and return to open sky, the stars are waiting, clearer, brighter, somehow nearer than before, and you are chained, not in ways you can measure, but in the spaces between thoughts. The ship drifts forward into the next silence. The spirals of the starwell dissolve behind you, vanishing gradually into the sweep of open space, like the final curls of incense smoke, rising from a shrine long closed to the world. There is no sudden departure, no threshold passed. One moment, you are surrounded by coiled light and memory, and the next, you are not. But something remains. A warmth in the breath, a weightlessness in the thoughts, a deep stillness that has followed you from the bottom of the well and now cradles you in its afterglow. The stars ahead are brighter, not in intensity, but in clarity. They shine with the kind of light that feels personal, as though they have been waiting not just for any traveler but for you. Each one glows steady and slow, their light not piercing but embracing, stretching across the void in long golden lines. The ship responds, guiding you gently between them, no longer drifting without course but following a subtle invitation, an unseen thread pulling softly at the edges of space. Your path leads toward a region where the stars begin to gather, loosely at first, then gradually forming strands, then webs, then a great luminous lattice that stretches across the void like an enormous woven veil. These are not constellations. They do not align themselves to be seen from afar. They form a structure, vast and intricate, a scaffolding of quiet radiance suspended in the black. It breathes with a silent rhythm, pulsing not with energy, but with presence. You are approaching the archive of still light. It begins to rise in front of you, not as a building, not as a station, but as a space unto itself. A chamber suspended in nothing, formed from layered starlight, held together by gravity too gentle to disturb, but too precise to drift apart. The entrance is not marked by gate or door, but by a thinning of the light, a folding inward of beams that part slowly, revealing a corridor ahead. The ship does not hesitate. It glides forward, passing through the curtain of illumination without resistance. Inside, everything is light and silence. The corridor leads into an open expanse, a vast spherical space with no walls and no floor, only the sense of enclosure created by the positioning of stars. They hover here, suspended in perfect order, arranged not by distance but by memory. Each one glows softly, and yet the light they emit does not blend. It remains distinct, as though each memory they hold requires its own solitude. The stars are not hot. They do not radiate heat or sound. They are cool and calm and ancient. The ship slows as it enters the archive, and for a time it simply floats, turning in place, surrounded by the gentle orbits of remembered light. You begin to understand the purpose of this place. The stars here do not burn, they preserve. Each one is an echo,
a frozen reflection of a moment that once passed through the galaxy and was gently caught here before it could vanish. These are not the memories of individuals or civilizations. They are older, broader. The memory of a world turning beneath a violet sun. The memory of starlight touching the edge of a planet's ocean for the first time. The memory of the silence before the first sound was ever made in the universe. Your ship begins to move again, gently, passing between the stars. You approach one that glows with a pale cyan hue, its surface slightly rippling as though stirred by a soft wind. The ripple is not physical, it is emotional. You feel it before you see it. A sensation of waiting, of longing, of something incomplete and beautiful. As you drift nearer, the star brightens, and suddenly your vision is filled not with light, but with a scene. You are not transported. You do not leave the ship. But for a moment you see a desert world, endless waves of white sand beneath a dim lavender sky. A single figure walks across the dunes, cloaked and silent, leaving behind a trail that disappears in the soft wind. Ahead of them, a structure half buried in the sand, glowing faintly with lines of gold etched into its sides. The figure reaches the door, places a hand against the metal, and then just as the vision begins to form into story, it fades. The star dims, the ship drifts onward. Each star in the archive holds one such moment. Not a memory in the human sense, but a feeling wrapped in a vision. A slice of time that chose not to vanish, but to remain. And here within this endless chamber, they are preserved with care. You do not touch them. You do not possess them. You witness them, and then you pass. Another star glows nearby, deep amber, slow and pulsing like a quiet heartbeat. You pause beside it, and again the vision comes. A frozen lake beneath the light of 3 suns, mountains rising like teeth in the distance. A low, harmonious tone as the ice cracks, echoing across the landscape, bouncing off the stone and returning not as a fracture, but as music. Then silence again, peace, the star fades. The ship moves, the archive stretches on in every direction. You begin to see that the structure is layered, rings within rings, each orbit holding stars from a different age, a different corner of the galaxy. The outer layers are clearer, more defined. The inner layers pulse slowly, as though deeper within the core of something that breathes in millennia. You pass into the second ring. Here, the light is dimmer. The stars are not so easily seen. Their glow comes in soft pulses, as though each one is speaking a language too slow to hear. The ship drifts closer to one, and the glow brightens. You do not see a vision this time. Instead, you feel it. A hum in your chest. A memory not your own. The feeling of a world ending, not in violence, not in collapse, but in peace. A final sunrise, a final breeze, a final quiet, and the knowledge that nothing was lost, only returned. You exhale, the star dims, you float through the ring, deeper into the archive, surrounded by these silent witnesses. You realize now that none of this was built. It grew, not like trees, not like machines, but like the patterns of frost on a window, spreading in response to time's breath. The archive is not a place. It is a reaction, a response. A space the galaxy formed because there were too many moments, too precious to be erased. You pass through a series of arches, formed from interlaced beams of light that curve around one another, like strands of memory woven into structure. The ship follows a spiral path now, descending toward the core. There, in the center of the archive, floats the final chamber. A single sphere, not glowing, but perfectly still, matte black against the surrounding brilliance. It reflects no light, it pulses with no rhythm. You approach slowly. This is not a star, it is a void. A stillness so complete, it anchors everything around it. Within this sphere, no visions appear, no feelings surface, only quiet. You understand instinctively that this is the beginning of the archive, the first moment held, the silence before the first memory formed. A place not of remembering, but of listening.
The ship halts beside it, hovering in absolute stillness. Time passes, or it does not. You do not know. Eventually, the ship begins to rise, not quickly, not mechanically, but gently, as though carried by the hands of the archive itself. You are lifted back through the rings, past the stars, each one dimming as you pass, returning to its long slumber. The corridor reappears. The light folds open. The ship crosses the threshold. You are released. Outside, the stars stretch wide once more. The archive behind you vanishes, not in distance, but in stillness. It returns to its rest, taking your presence with it and folding it into its light. You drift forward, changed again in ways you cannot define. Not heavier, not lighter, just quieter, fuller, more whole. The archive of still light recedes into the distance behind you, its layered rings of frozen memory, folding gently back into the soft darkness, like petals of a flower, closing at the end of a long day. There is no boundary, no gate, no moment of departure, only a gradual dissolving, a quiet shift from one kind of stillness to another. The silence that now surrounds you is different. Not the deep hush of time paused or preserved, but the gentle hum of anticipation, as though something nearby is already awake and waiting. The stars ahead are more numerous now, drawing closer together, gathering across the void in long, arching bands that stretch and overlap like celestial bridges. They blink in soft rhythms, pulse with faint colors, curve along invisible paths that form clusters, knots, and radiant spirals. The sky feels alive again, not in urgency, but in warmth. Your ship follows a stream of light, a silver thread weaving between these starlit arcs. There is a subtle rhythm to the path, an ebb and flow, like the rise and fall of breath. You sense that the stars are not randomly scattered here. They are arranged, not by gravity, but by intention. Their placement tells a story, though the meaning lies not in words or logic, but in presence. As you drift forward, the pattern sharpens. Constellations begin to emerge, not the distant symbolic figures seen from far planets, but living arrangements, complex and shifting. Some form temporary structures, circles and lattices of slow-turning stars. Others flow like rivers, their lines bending and reshaping as your angle of view changes. The stars here move, slowly with grace, as though dancing to a music that only they can hear. And within the arcs and intersections of these starry paths, you begin to see something unexpected. Small at first, faint and scattered, drifting among the constellations like floating lanterns. Then more, rows and clusters of soft glowing structures, suspended in space, pods and bubbles and platforms that shimmer with their own hues, each one turning gently in place. The architecture is unlike anything fixed or grounded. There are no walls, no floors. Everything floats, tethered only by light and intention. Passageways drift between glowing chambers. Stalls hang from filaments of starlight, swaying in the gentle tides of cosmic current. People move between them, not with engines or noise, but in quiet motion, gliding in personal vessels, or drifting freely in suits of woven shimmer. You have arrived at the constellation market. The name comes to you not from signs or broadcasts, but from the place itself. It is not a market in the traditional sense. Nothing here is bought with currency or measured in value. It is a place of exchange, of presence, of slow wonder. Each stall, each platform, each drifting pavilion offers something unique, a fragment of a culture, a relic of a world, a sound, a scent, a shape. The ship slows, hovering at the edge of the market, and waits. There is no docking here, no registration. You are already accepted. You are already part of the rhythm. The ship opens, and you step into a suit of light, not armor, not fabric, but a gentle shell of atmosphere and translation, allowing you to move freely between the drifting stalls. You push away from the vessel and float gently into the current. The market welcomes you in silence. The first platform you encounter is made of spun glass, turning slowly beneath your feet. Upon it, a being sits cross-legged, its form shifting between solidity and transparency. In front of it floats a single orb, pulsing with soft crimson light. As you approach, the orb spins and expands, revealing a memory, a sound, a voice speaking in a language you've never heard, and yet understand perfectly. It is a poem, a love song from a moon that no longer orbits any sun. The stall keeper nods, you nod in return, and the moment ends. The orb collapses, you drift onward. Another platform beckons. This one constructed of folded light panels shaped like leaves. Upon them are arranged small objects, fragments of crystalline root systems, feathers from birds made of flame, slivers of stone that hum when touched. A visitor reaches forward and lifts one of the crystals. It glows in their hand, changing color with the rhythm of their heartbeat. The stallkeeper, a tall figure made of overlapping rings of metal and mist, gestures gently. The visitor smiles and leaves behind a single strand of hair, encased in a drop of frozen breath. The exchange is complete. No transaction, only offering and receiving. You drift farther in. The market spirals inward, following the arcs of the constellations. Some platforms are filled with song. You hear melodies played on instruments that look like flowing vines and spinning discs. The music is slow and layered, filled with pauses that seem to stretch time, allowing you to breathe between each note. Others are filled with light shows, floating tendrils of color that wrap around you, reacting to your emotions and showing you shapes pulled from your own memory. One chamber displays only a single beam of golden light that splits into dozens of smaller threads when you step near, revealing different futures that never came to pass, each one fading away as gently as it appeared. There is food too, not for hunger, but for sensation. One vendor offers spheres of taste that melt on your tongue and fill your thoughts with textures instead of flavors. Another offers scent alone, no form, no container, just the subtle drift of a forest rain on a world with copper trees, or the warmth of sunlight on river stone from a planet where rivers flow in the sky. No one rushes, no one haggles, no one sells. The market moves with the same calm rhythm as the stars that hold it. You pass a wide circular platform made of overlapping petals of metal and dust. Upon it are displayed small pieces of text, etched into thin sheets of transparent material. You pick one up. It is a story not long, not complicated, but beautiful. A single moment shared between two strangers on a ship that crossed a frozen system during the silent bloom of comet light. When you finish reading it, the text fades from the page, and the sheet becomes blank once more. You place it back. Another visitor will read it, and it will return, perhaps slightly changed. Above you, a cluster of small vessels drifts in a slow spiral. They are unpiloted, each one holding a single object: a cup of earth, a tattered scarf, a broken instrument, a preserved seed. They circle endlessly, like memories adrift in the mind of the market itself. One of them slows as it passes near. The seed within it begins to glow. You do not know what it means. You do not need to. You watch it pass, and it joins the others, fading once more into the spiral. You stay for a while. Time here feels softened, unmeasured. You cannot say how long you float through the market. You visit a stall where a mirror does not show your reflection, but the face of someone who once stood in the same place, perhaps 1,000 years ago. You meet a traveler who speaks in pulses of color, and though no words are exchanged, you understand everything. You pass beneath a floating tapestry that weaves itself anew each time someone looks up at it, adjusting its threads to mirror the emotion in their gaze. Eventually, your ship appears again, slowly rising to meet you. The market does not fade or disappear. It continues behind you, moving gently in the loops of its own orbit. The stalls remain. The songs continue. The exchanges go on. You return to your vessel and feel something warm in your chest, like a glowing ember tucked beneath your ribs. A small light, offered and accepted. The ship turns. You rise from the web of constellations and drift back into the vastness. The market falls away behind you, becoming once again a distant scattering of stars. But you carry it now, its rhythm, its peace, its kindness folded into you, like a memory not of the mind, but of the heart. You feel it in your breath, in the space between each thought, and still the galaxy waits. The constellation market slowly recedes into the backdrop of the universe, the last strands of its drifting lights curling away like lanterns on a slow-moving river. Its spiral stalls and memory-bound trades fade into the black, their gentle glow still humming faintly in the spaces behind your eyes. There is a softness lingering in your thoughts now, not unlike the echo of music heard just before sleep. Your ship glides forward with the calm certainty of something that no longer seeks a destination, only continuation. It knows, as you do, that the path ahead is shaped not by where it leads, but by how it feels. And the next place, even before you see it, feels like music. The stars begin to change once again, not in color or brightness, but in rhythm. You first notice it in the way they seem to pulse in slow intervals, as if blinking in time to a tempo that lies just beneath the surface of silence. It is not sound you hear. It is not even vibration. It is structure, harmony, gently folded into the pattern of space itself. The stars are spaced too evenly, their distances held in perfect proportion, their positions echoing across the sky in repeating intervals. You begin to sense that you are entering something composed. The ship drifts onward, drawn not by gravity, but by resonance. Ahead, the blackness begins to thin. Space becomes translucent in places, veiled by vast fields of invisible tone. These fields pulse like ocean tides, rippling outward in waves too broad to see, but felt in the deep, unspoken part of the mind that listens when everything else grows quiet. Your breath begins to slow again. Your heartbeat matches the pulse. The vessel moves lower, into the wide opening between star clusters that form a kind of cosmic chamber. The light within it is gentle and uneven, folding in long arcs that twist in slow spirals, and then vanish again into nothing. Within this chamber lies the harmonic drift. You are not entering a location so much as a frequency. The drift is not made of stars or gas, not built of matter or magnetism. It is a region of space where harmony has taken root. It begins as a hum, low and steady, not in your ears but in your chest. Then a second tone joins it, slightly higher, layering itself atop the first. Then a third, then a fourth. The sound does not rise in volume. It rises in presence, like a sunrise unfolding in all directions at once. Each tone exists independently, but together they form something vast and warm. A chord that stretches across light years, holding everything inside it in perfect suspension. The ship responds by dimming its lights. Its system slow, its shape seems to shift in subtle ways, smoothing its sharpest angles, softening its contours. Not a transformation, but a tuning. The vessel is aligning with the drift. You feel yourself align with it as well. The chord deepens, more tones rise to meet it. The drift is a symphony, slow and endless, a composition without beginning or end, written into the fabric of space. You begin to see the source. Floating ahead are vast crystalline structures, some sharp-edged like enormous tuning forks, others curved like open shells catching invisible tides. They drift in precise intervals, spaced apart in a pattern that is not random. Each one glows faintly, resonating with a specific tone. As you pass between them, you feel each frequency adjust your thoughts, soften your limbs, pull your breath into a slower rhythm. One crystal emits a tone that feels like the memory of a lullaby. Another feels like the warmth of being seen. A third like the echo of a long-forgotten name spoken aloud once more. The ship weaves through the structures with deliberate motion. You are not navigating through a field. You are navigating through a song. Each passage you cross triggers a new harmony. The tones build and release. Patterns rise, dissolve, rise again. You drift beside a structure that looks like a suspended ribbon of glass, hundreds of kilometers long, twisting gently in a curve that mirrors the pitch of its vibration. A faint light runs along its edge as your ship nears, triggering a cascade of soft, golden chimes. The notes spill out into the chamber around you, adding their melody to the deeper hum that surrounds everything. You listen. You do not analyze. The music is not for understanding. It is for being within. Farther ahead, a field of suspended rings rotates slowly in overlapping orbits. Each ring is etched with grooves that pulse with rhythm as they turn. They do not touch, but they influence one another, causing the harmonics to rise and fall in a long, slow cycle. As you pass through the center of the field, the tones shift downward, descending into a low, soft drone that seems to settle into your bones. The drone is steady, and with it comes a stillness that wraps around the vessel like a second hull. You pass through the drone and out the other side. The tones rise again, becoming more complex. Now you hear harmonics, overtones dancing on top of the bass frequencies, delicate flickers of sound that twist and blend like paint in water. They form patterns in the light around the ship, causing ripples in the color of space itself. For a moment, the sky is not black, but deep violet, then dark gold, then a shade of green so rich and slow that it almost glows from within. You are moving through the chromatic body of the drift. It has color, it has mood, it has presence. Eventually you reach the center. It is not marked, not signed, but you know it instinctively. Here the tones converge. The frequencies that before circled and pulsed now align into a single endless chord. It is not loud, it is not overwhelming, it is complete. Perfect intervals stack upon one another, each note offering balance to the others. You float in the middle of it, your ship hovering still, the systems silent. Everything is in tune. There is nothing to adjust, nothing to correct. The music has found its center, and you are within it. You feel it in your chest, in your fingers, in your breath, and in your silence. Thought itself grows quiet, not numb, not absent, just quiet. You remember things not with clarity, but with feeling. A moment in your childhood when you sat alone beneath trees and felt the breeze. A time you woke from a dream and didn't want to leave it behind. A night when you listened to rain and forgot to worry. The drift has no language, but it brings meaning. You remain in the center for as long as you need. There is no measure, no clock. The music does not rush. It holds the moment open for you, allowing you to rest within it, to settle more deeply into the stillness that now moves in time with your heartbeat. Eventually, the ship begins to drift again. The chord begins to change, not fading, evolve. The frequencies pull apart gently, unraveling their harmony into individual threads that stretch outward like paths. The structures grow distant, their glow softening, their tones becoming echo. You feel them in your wake, like the quiet hum of a remembered song still ringing faintly in your skin. The stars return, not in clusters or constellations, but as single steady points of light against the returning darkness. The drift is behind you now, but it is not gone. It remains inside you, folded into the rhythm of your breathing, a balance you didn't know you were missing, now quietly kept. You are drifting once more. The echoes of the harmonic drift linger within the stillness of your vessel long after you've passed its center, even as your ship glides silently into the open canvas of space once more. The memory of the drift continues to resonate in the quietest parts of your being. Not as a sound, but as a presence, a balance. The space ahead is empty again, but not in the way emptiness once felt. It is no longer a void waiting to be filled. It is a breath, a pause, a wide open measure waiting for the next phrase in the music of your journey. The stars begin to thin, not vanish, but space themselves with a curious precision, as if each one is choosing distance on purpose, carving out space for something larger to take shape. There is a shift in the tone of the light now, a softness in its hue, like the white of moonlight reflecting off mist-covered stone. The ship drifts forward, and the void begins to deepen into silver. Far ahead, just beyond the quiet horizon of starlight, you begin to see them, arches of soft light rising in curves, long and winding, stretching across the void with gentle motion. They are not lines, they are paths, trails of glowing dust and ancient magnetism, looping and spiraling, floating freely in space. Each one twists slowly in the dark, trailing moon-like spheres behind them, some small as houses, others vast as cities, each glowing faintly with internal light, turning slowly along their arcs like beads, sliding along silk. You are approaching the moon paths of Larai. There is no planet nearby, no star. The moons here do not orbit a central body. They orbit the paths themselves, carried along winding, luminous ribbons that loop across thousands of kilometers of open space. These paths are not fixed. They drift and bend, rising and falling as though moved by invisible tides. But they never break. They never intersect. They remain in constant, fluid motion, painting an ever-shifting dance of silver trails through the black sea of night. Your ship slows, not out of caution but awe. The path nearest to you curves upward, forming a long arc that climbs into the dark, and then gently coils back downward. Along it drift 5 moons, each one glowing with a different tone of pale light. The first glows with soft blue, like glacial ice under starlight. The second is gray-white, marked with long striations that catch and scatter light. The third is covered in crystal fields that sparkle like snow under dawn. The fourth turns so slowly you can barely perceive its movement. The fifth glows with faint amber, as though a fire once burned within it and left its warmth behind. Your ship enters the arc. There is no contact, no tether. The path accepts you and the ship begins to move along its curvature, matching the pace of the drifting moon. You are no longer navigating, you are accompanying. The moons do not speak, they do not pulse or flare, but their presence fills the space around you. Each one sharing its stillness, each one offering its light as if it were a language. You draw near to it floats silently beside you for many kilometers, its icy surface calm and unchanging. But as you drift beside it, the surface begins to reflect something more than starlight. You see shapes, faint outlines moving beneath the frost, not structures, not life, memories, echoes pressed into the ice. A figure standing alone beneath a storm, a field of frost-covered trees under an aurora sky, a single hand pressed to the glass of a distant window. The images are not yours, but they move through you like they belong to something deeper. You pass the second moon. Its surface is cracked and folded like the bark of an ancient tree. As you move beside it, faint sounds begin to form. Not music, not speech, but environmental echoes. Wind across stone, the gentle hiss of shifting dust, the soft crackle of something burning low and steady. You listen without needing to interpret. The moon is not telling you a story, it is sharing its state of being, a condition, a mood, and as you receive it, you feel something settle inside you, something calm and slow and old. The third moon glimmers before you now, and your ship floats alongside it, drifting near its crystal fields. These formations stretch outward like frozen rivers, sparkling with light that seems to respond to your presence. As you pass, the crystals begin to hum, not audibly, but with resonance. They sing in pressure and silence, in frequencies too subtle to hear, but too deep to miss. The closer you drift, the more the light refracts, forming prismatic arcs that curve around the ship in perfect harmony with your motion. The moon is mirroring you, reflecting you, acknowledging your existence by folding your presence into its glow. The fourth moon appears almost featureless at first. Its surface is smooth, matte, a perfect sphere of stillness. And yet as you near, you begin to notice that it draws light toward it, not consuming it, but gathering it. Starlight bends around its edges, casting no shadows. The result is an illusion of infinite depth, as if the moon is not solid at all, but a hollow space, filled with memory too vast to measure. You feel yourself slow, your breath softens. This moon does not show or speak or reflect. It invites. You do not enter it, you enter its rhythm, and in doing so you feel a quiet understanding. Sometimes stillness is not an absence, it is a presence so complete, it no longer needs to move. The fifth moon glows with amber warmth, and as you drift near, you feel its heat, subtle, not physical, but emotional. Its surface is uneven, cratered in smooth curves, as though once shaped by waves. Along its ridges, small flares of light pulse slowly, like coals in an ancient fire. You pass alongside it, and a memory rises within you, not of this moon, not of this place, but of something old and forgotten, buried in the folds of your own time. A night beneath trees, a fire built with hands you barely remember, a voice humming just beyond hearing. You do not try to hold the memory, you let it move through you like wind. You drift beyond the first arc. Ahead, more paths rise, some in long gentle spirals, others in high sweeping loops that bend back into themselves. Each is populated by its own collection of moons, each with its own mood, its own pacing. You choose another path, gently curving to the right, drawn by a strand of silver that coils like a ribbon drifting through water. The ship joins the loop, and the moons of this new path welcome you in silence. One glows with violet light and is covered in rings of ice that turn opposite its rotation. Another is pocked with craters that shine from within, as if they each hold a lantern deep in their core. A third moon bears no features at all, but pulses in time with your own breath. You move between them slowly, not as a visitor, but as one among them. The paths shift around you. You pass below a great arc that stretches like a bridge between the stars. Moons float overhead, drifting along their paths with the patience of things that have known the galaxy since its beginning. You are surrounded now by light that is not directional, by gravity that does not pull, by motion that never asks for purpose. You realize that the moon paths are not merely a celestial phenomenon, they are a sanctuary. These moons are not remnants, they are caretakers, each one a vessel, holding not history, but harmony, each one carrying a tone, a pulse, a form of stillness, that reflects not just where they are, but how they are. They do not orbit a planet because they do not need to. They do not serve a star, because they carry light within themselves. And you, for this time, are part of their drifting choir. Eventually, the paths begin to drift apart. Your ship lifts gently, following a rising current of light that leads toward the outer edge of the moon paths. The arcs fall behind, winding slowly into the dark. The last few moons pass by, glowing in farewell. One pulses once, gently, as if to say thank you. Another seems to dim just slightly, as you drift beyond its reach. They are not sad, they are not lonely, they remain. The last arc unfolds before you, and bends upward into the wider void. Your ship follows. The moon paths of Lurai disappear behind you, swallowed gently by distance, their loops and spirals stretching back into the memory of space. You carry them now, not in stories, not in images, but in rhythm, in the slowed motion of your thoughts, in the curve of your emotions, in the calm of your breathing. The galaxy continues.
The moon paths of Lurai drift behind your vessel, their elegant spirals and glowing moons slowly curling into the deep silence of space, like threads pulled gently into shadow. The silver arcs grow fainter with distance, until they seem like delicate handwriting scribbled across the dark, the ink faded and vanishing into stillness. You do not watch them go. You feel their departure in the way your thoughts grow quieter again, in the way your breath returns to the gentle rhythm it learned in their presence. Their gravity lingers within you, not a physical pull but an emotional imprint, a memory of drifting among the moons that orbit nothing yet offer everything. Ahead, space stretches wide once more, clear and calm. The stars are fewer again,
spaced like slow breaths across a velvet sky. Their light is soft and patient, as if the galaxy is preparing you for something. Not rushing, not announcing, just guiding you forward through the open dark. You feel it before you see it. That subtle shimmer that begins to rise like mist ahead of you. A faint glow along the horizon of space that pulses in long, slow intervals. Your ship responds without your direction. It tilts slightly, adjusts its course, and begins its gentle descent toward the light. As you approach, the shimmer becomes more defined, not uniform, not constant. A sea of points begins to flicker into view. Soft golden lights floating in the blackness, spread wide across a vast field of space. At first, they seem like stars, but they are not stars. They drift, they sway, they bob slightly as if suspended in some invisible tide. The field of lights grows denser as your ship glides lower, revealing the full expanse of the Lantern Sea. You are not above a planet. There is no surface beneath you. The sea stretches out in every direction, floating in the open void, untethered, but somehow held together by harmony. Each light is a lantern, suspended in space by threads you cannot see, glowing with its own unique hue: warm golds, soft rose, pale amber, dim ivory. They blink in long, slow rhythms, sometimes alone, sometimes together in soft clusters. The effect is mesmerizing. It is not chaotic, it is not structured, it is balanced, like a song played without notes, but with perfect timing. Your ship slows to a crawl. There is no need to rush here. The Lantern Sea is not a place to pass through. It is a place to dwell, to drip. You descend into the upper layers of the sea, and the lanterns rise to meet you, surrounding the ship in a gentle web of glowing presence. Each one floats with the serenity of something ancient and certain, as though it has waited for this moment. Not for you, specifically, but for anyone who would choose to arrive without expectation. The lanterns do not emit heat, they do not make sound. They glow with a kind of internal breath, pulsing in and out slowly, like sleeping creatures that dream without memory. Your ship passes between them without disturbing their motion. They part like clouds, stirred by a wisp. You drift through the field, and the lights respond, not dramatically, not obviously, but they know you are there. They feel you and they let you pass. One lantern draws close. It glows with a color you have never seen, a blend of rose and gold and dusk blue. As you near it, the glow intensifies slightly, not in brightness, but in intimacy. You are aware of it. You feel it in your breath. The lantern begins to shimmer in pulses that match the rhythm of your own body. And then, without warning, it releases a single thread of light, thin as hair, that stretches outward and touches the hull of your ship. There is no resistance, no tension, just contact. In that moment, you feel a memory, not yours. A scene unfolds in your thoughts. A child standing on the edge of a water-covered moon, watching small glowing fish dance beneath the surface. The air is cool. The sky is full of stars. There is no sound but the lapping of the waves. And then it fades. The thread dissolves. The lantern drifts onward. You do not chase it. You do not linger. You float in silence, knowing now what the lanterns are. They are memory, but not personal memories. They are shared moments, collected across time and space, pieces of beauty, peace, sorrow, love, not stored, offered, released by those who passed through here long ago, those who chose to leave something behind, not to be remembered, but to be felt again. The Lantern Sea is not a graveyard. It is not an archive. It is a dream space, a floating ocean of recollections suspended in the stillness between stars. You drift deeper into the sea. The lights grow denser, clustering in long loops and spirals, forming rivers of golden glow that twist through the void like constellations come to life. Some lights flicker in short bursts, quick, bright memories. A laugh shared in a forest of glass. The feel of snow falling on bare skin. The sound of footsteps on wooden floors beneath lanterns, strung between trees. Others pulse more slowly, moments of waiting, of listening, of quiet tears shed beneath alien skies. The ship passes through a thick curtain of light, and you feel yourself wrapped in it. There is no fear, no disorientation, only immersion. You feel hundreds of moments wash over you in a single breath, not overwhelming, not confusing, just presence, layered and deep. A symphony of human and non-human thought, a chorus of memory. You begin to notice patterns. Some lanterns are clustered around others, orbiting a central glow. These are families of memory, interconnected, shared, perhaps by those who travel together. One such cluster draws your attention. At its center floats a lantern, glowing pale violet. Around it, smaller lanterns drift, pulsing slowly. As you draw near, the central light expands slightly, and the surrounding lanterns begin to shift their rhythm to match yours. They are listening, they are remembering, they are recognizing something in you. You allow yourself to be still. In that stillness, the lanterns begin to tell their story, one pulse at a time, a voice humming in a low, deep tone. A long corridor, filled with banners fluttering in unseen wind, the scent of cinnamon and ash, a farewell whispered through glass, a hand raised in a silent wave, the flutter of wings beneath a starlit dome. These moments belong to no one and everyone. You receive them, you release them. The lanterns dim, satisfied. You pass beyond the cluster, more lights appear, now floating in shapes, rings, spirals. Some form complex weavings, like ancient patterns drawn in dust. Others are chaotic, drifting without form, pulsing in irregular rhythms. These are more personal, more intimate. You realize some lanterns were not left intentionally. They drifted here on their own, carried by the winds of time, gathering in this place because they needed somewhere to rest. The sea extends on and on. You do not tire. You do not rust. The ship continues to move through the field of lights, each lantern offering itself not as a burden, but as a gift. You accept, you let go, you listen, you learn. Eventually the lanterns begin to thin, not vanish, just fade. One by one, their rhythms growing slower, their pulses becoming more faint. The sea opens into a wide clearing, a space where only a few scattered lights remain, drifting slowly like the last embers of a quiet fire. The ship slows again, hovering in the heart of this clearing. One final lantern floats near. It is small, dull in color. Its pulse is so faint you almost do not notice it, but it draws close, brushing against the side of the ship with a quiet grace. The glow sharpens. It expands. You feel it. A single moment. Someone standing on the edge of sleep, holding the hand of someone they love, afraid to speak, afraid to let go. And then they do. And then the moment ends. The lantern dims and floats away. You rise slowly from the sea. The lights fall behind you, fading one by one. Not lost, not forgotten, just returning to their drift. The lantern sea folds itself back into the dark. You are lighter now, not emptier, just more open, more held. You carry the lanterns within you. Their light is now part of your own, and the galaxy, gentle as always, continues to unfold. The lantern sea glimmers faintly in the distance behind you, its last soft pulses of light receding into the dark like the hush that follows a lullaby. Each of its glowing fragments, the remembered, the shared, the unspoken, lingers in your senses, not as a burden, but as a layer of calm, like fine silk drawn over your thoughts. You breathe slowly. You watch the galaxy stretch before you again. The silence that follows such a place is not empty. It is full of echo and reverence, the quiet that only comes after something beautiful has passed and been understood without needing to be explained. Your ship moves gently onward, its course unspoken, its direction guided, not by map or chart, but by a quiet agreement between you and the rhythm of the stars. The universe seems to open once more, but not with the cold indifference it once held when you first began this journey. Now the space ahead feels intimate, like a great and quiet library full of unopened pages, waiting to be read with no urgency, no demand. The starlight stretches wider here, forming long arcs of pale illumination that brush against one another like threads in a loop. Your ship drifts beneath them, and for a time the path is smooth and unchanging. Then something shifts. It begins with a shimmer, faint, fleeting, the way a distant heat wave might bend the light above a quiet road. The shimmer grows, more defined, spreading outward into an immense sheet of distortion that stretches across your path. It is not solid. It is not opaque. It is a surface that reflects nothing at first, a curtain without form, a presence without shape. Your ship approaches carefully, not slowing, not rushing, simply gliding closer, until the shimmer begins to respond. Slowly, the field ripples outward in concentric waves, revealing not a barrier but a threshold. Beyond it, the light behaves differently. You pass through the first layer of the mirror fields. The name arrives in your thoughts without prompt, as though the space itself offers its title with quiet confidence. There is no resistance as you cross the boundary. No flash, no sound, only a slow and graceful unfurling of sensation. The air inside the ship seems to change, cooler, lighter, filled with a faint hum, like a wind made of memory brushing across the walls. Outside the ship, the stars appear to multiply, not in number but in reflection. Each one now has a twin, a counterpart, a ghost image floating slightly offset in space. You look closer, and you realize they are not mere reflections. They are possibility. The mirror fields stretch wide in all directions, made of endless panels of unseen material that catch the light and reshape it, bend it, echo it. You drift into a region where dozens of curved mirrors hang in space, suspended by nothing, shaped not in squares or circles, but in waves, arcs, spirals. Each one floats gently, turning on its own axis, casting reflections that twist and blend with the light of the star. You see your ship reflected dozens of times, some distorted, some perfect, some impossibly distant, and yet directly before you. The mirrors do not show truth, they show potential. You pass close to a wide mirror shaped like a crescent, its surface glowing with a faint opalescent sheen. As you near, your own reflection appears, not just the ship, but yourself inside it. Only, the person you see is not quite you. They sit differently. They look older or younger. Their expression is softer or harder. They are still you, but not as you are, as you could have been or might become. The reflection holds your gaze for a long moment, then it fades. You continue forward, passing between tall, narrow mirrors that lean like trees in a windless forest. Their surfaces shimmer as you move past, revealing flashes of things that never were, versions of your path untouched by this journey, echoes of choices never made. You see a planet with blue-green oceans that you never visit. You see a structure of white stone that you remember dreaming of once long ago. You see a moment of laughter, shared with someone whose name you no longer remember, but whose voice returns to you for just an instant, soft and kind. The mirrors do not judge. They do not impose. They show only what floats near the surface of your memory, what lies curled in the folds of your perception, waiting to be noticed. The mirror fields are not a test. They are a reflection of space itself, quiet, ancient, filled with paths not taken, and still gently aglow with the light of every star that once shone. As you drift deeper into the field, the mirrors grow more intricate. Some are ringed with faint silver dust, which shifts in spiraling patterns as you pass. Others are cracked or incomplete, their surfaces blurred at the edges, revealing fragments of dreams that were forgotten before they finished forming. You pass a mirror so vast it reflects not just the ship, but the space around it, recreating the stars in their precise positions, but slightly altered. You notice one star missing, another shining brighter than it should, a third pulsing faintly as if preparing to speak. You realize slowly that these are not mere images. They are interpretations. The mirrors here do not replicate. They translate, You are seeing not what is, but what might be. The mirror is asking a question. What if that star had never died? What if you had arrived soon? What if something somewhere had turned just slightly in a different direction? You float in that question for a while. The field around you thickens, and now the mirrors take on shapes even more abstract. Some resemble flowing water suspended in midair, their surfaces rippling with reflections that bend and stretch into impossible geometries. Others are like domes, hollowed from the inside, each one containing its own miniature galaxy of mirrored stars. You peer into one and see a version of the ship drifting through a field of light shaped like a spiral shell. In another, you glimpse yourself standing on a silver plain beneath a sky with 3 moons. The mirrors never lie, but they never insist. They simply show. You pass a mirror shaped like a human eye, massive in scale, its iris glowing with a soft indigo light. It blinks slowly as you near, then opens fully, revealing within it not a reflection, but a doorway, an image of another place, a world filled with golden clouds and crystalline towers that rise from a lake of stars. For a moment, you feel the pull of it, the invitation to step through, to leave this path and enter another. But the pull fades. The ship does not respond. You drift past and the eye closes again. Not every reflection must be entered. Some are simply meant to be seen. You move on and the mirrors grow sparser, more delicate. They hang in isolation, each one carrying a single image, a single memory, a single possibility. One shows a child reaching for the stars with painted hands. Another, a city made of glass dissolving slowly into mist. A third reveals an endless library, where every book holds the dreams of one life across countless worlds. You do not know whose memories they are. Perhaps they are yours. Perhaps they belong to the galaxy itself. And then you reach the last mirror. It is round and small, no larger than a window, and completely still. Its surface is not reflective. It is matte, dark, like obsidian under a sky with no moon. You pause before it, waiting. It does not shimmer. It does not flicker. Then slowly, the darkness lightens, and an image forms, not of you, not of space, but of the ship itself, resting in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by silence. A final moment, a final breath, a reflection not of the past, nor the future, but of the now. You realize this is the true mirror, the one that reflects without commentary, without distortion. It shows the moment as it is, and it is beautiful. The image fades, the mirror dims, the field opens once more. The last of the mirrors vanishes behind you, and space returns to its familiar stillness. The mirror fields are gone now, their questions left behind in the echoes of reflection. You do not feel changed. You feel revealed, as though something you already carried has now been seen. A quiet understanding settles in your thoughts, not of certainty, but of acceptance. The galaxy holds all paths, all versions, all moments, and you are simply drifting through the one that chose you. The ship glides forward, and the stars welcome you again. The mirror fields recede slowly, dissolving into the distance like ripples vanishing across a midnight lake. You carry their quiet truths with you, not as burdens but as softened shapes folded into your awareness. There is no sense of departure, the graceful slide from one quiet into another, the transition so seamless that it feels like waking from one dream into a second, more delicate one. The stars ahead breathe faintly, spaced in long, uneven arcs, their glow dimmed by some unseen hush that rests over the region like a lull. Your ship glides with careful reverence, as if not to disturb the silence that now envelopes you. And deep within that silence, something begins to form. You do not see it at first. You feel it. A slowing of thought, a heaviness in your limbs, not from exhaustion, but from the subtle invitation to rest. The light outside becomes softer still, curling at the edges, washing the surfaces of the ship in a pale hue that has no name. It is not gray, it is not silver, it is the color of dreams just before they fade. The instruments aboard the vessel respond by dimming their lights. Displays blur into near transparency. Readouts slow their rhythm, syncing with the gentle, unseen pulse outside. The ship is adjusting, aligning with the atmosphere of what lies ahead. The sleepwells of Sirion. That is the name the space around you whispers. Not in words, not in voice, but in feeling. It unfolds in your thoughts like a memory you never lived. Like a place you've always known but never seen. Sirion is not a world, not a structure. It is a region, a cradle within the galaxy where time pools into rest. And dreams rise not from within, but from the space around you. Your ship continues its slow approach. Ahead, the stars blur together into a wide band of light that shimmers in slow motion. Within this band float vast formations, great ovals and spires, shallow arcs and suspended spheres, all gently illuminated from within by soft, glowing light. They drift in a slow dance, orbiting nothing, spinning on their own invisible axes. Some resemble fallen leaves, resting on water. Others curve like petals half closed in slumber. They are immense, larger than cities, some perhaps larger than moons. And yet they give off no sense of mass or presence. They seem as weightless as thought. You enter among them, and the stillness deepens. There is a gravity here, but not one that pulls. It wraps around you gently, like a blanket laid across your shoulders by unseen hands. The further in you drift, the quieter everything becomes. Your thoughts lose their edges. Your breath slows without you noticing. And the ship, so often an extension of motion, now becomes a nest, a place where movement has no urgency, where silence is not empty, but filled with rest. You approach the first of the sleepwells. It is shaped like a shallow bowl turned upward, glowing softly with concentric rings of pale light. Within it floats a single structure, a sphere of glass, half-mirrored, suspended in a slow rotation. As your ship draws near, the sphere pulses once, as if acknowledging your presence. You feel no command, no signal, only permission, a sense that you may stay if you wish, or pass, if you prefer. You remain still, and in the presence of the sleepwell, you begin to feel something unusual. You are dreaming, but not asleep. The space around you begins to shift, not physically, but perceptual. Shapes form outside the windows of your ship, not stars, not vessels, not any structure that holds definition. They are memories made of light, feelings made of shadow, drifting around you like clouds forming thoughts. You see a corridor lined with tall windows opening onto a sea of firefly. You see a bridge made of woven mist, stretching between two cliffs where no wind blows. You see a hand, your hand, perhaps, tracing the surface of water that reflects nothing. These visions do not startle you. They soothe, they settle. The sleepwell is not showing you a story. It is reflecting your rest, giving form to the inner stillness that now mirrors the space you inhabit. You realize that each of the great structures around you, each arc and bowl and sphere, is designed not to hold energy or matter, but dreams. They are reservoirs of rest, filled not with sleep but with the emotions that form just before and just after. The soft, formless content that lives between consciousness and slumber. Your ship glides further inward, passing over a wide, flattened ring that spins slowly beneath you. On its surface are thousands of tiny, glowing shapes, like lanterns or blossoms drifting just above the ring's skin. Each one pulses gently, as if breathing in a shared rhythm. You do not know what they are. You do not need to. Their presence is enough. You close your eyes and for a moment you forget the ship, the journey, the stars beyond. You rest in a place where no memory weighs you down and no thought demands to be followed. Further still, the ship floats toward a tall, leaning spire made of braided threads of light. It tapers toward a single point at its base, then blossoms outward into a canopy of flickering lines, like the ribs of an open umbrella. Beneath it, great clouds of soft vapor drift slowly in and out of focus. They twist and form shapes, faces you almost recognize, voices you nearly recall. The spire hums quietly, a sound so low it feels more like a breath. It is not speaking, it is exhaling. The spire and its cloud are a form of dreaming too, not yours perhaps, but the dreams of Sirion itself. You realize now that this place is not only for travelers. It is not a rest stop, it is a being, a presence spread across space, breathing in the dreams of the galaxy, holding them gently, releasing them back into the dark, so they can drift into the minds of those who need them. The sleepwells are not built, they are grown. The ship drifts to a halt, near the largest of the wells. It is a wide basin of silver turned on its side, suspended in the void, like a tilted mirror. Within it floats a pool of golden mist, swirling in spirals too slow to measure. As you hover near it, the mist begins to rise, not toward you, but around you. The ship is enveloped in it. The windows turn opaque with soft light. The hull hums in a tone lower than hearing. And then, once again, you are dreaming. This time, the vision comes not from within, but from the space around you. You are standing in a field of tall, feathered grass. The sky is full of moons, large and low, casting long shadows in every direction. There is wind, warm and slow, brushing your skin. Ahead, a path made of glass winds through the field. And along it walk figures, not people, not animals, but shapes of light and dust, trailing echoes behind them as they pass. You follow the path, though you do not walk. You move by being still. The dream holds you without weight. It carries you without motion. Then it fades, the light dims, the mist recedes, and you return. The ship is quiet. The sleepwell rests once more. You linger a while longer in its orbit, not because you must, but because you can. Because something in this place invites you to remain as long as you need, not forever, just until you are ready to continue. And eventually you are. The ship turns. The sleepwells of Sirion fall slowly behind you, their shapes folding back into the haze of golden mist, their soft pulses fading into the silence. You do not leave them behind. You carry them with you, not as memories but as layers of stillness woven into your breath. The stars ahead, bright. The sleepwells of Sirion fade into the backdrop of space, like the final breath of a long, slow lullaby. Their soft geometry dissolves behind you, becoming once more part of the galaxy's dreaming hush. You carry them not like a place left behind, but like a layer of stillness absorbed into your skin, resting now in the folds between your thoughts, invisible yet ever present. Your ship glides forward, unhurried, passing once again into the gentle silence of the cosmos. The stars ahead are quiet. The path is unmarked. There is no map to follow, only the slow unfolding of what comes next, as natural and inevitable as the next inhale. The light begins to change. It grows colder, not harsher, not cruel, just crisp, tinged with faint shades of blue and silver that seem to brush against the skin of your ship, like flakes of ice carried on windless air. The stars become smaller, sharper, their points more defined. Each one glows like a pinprick carved into black velvet. And for a moment, the entire sky feels crystalline, fragile, immense. Then through the stillness, you begin to sense a shadow beneath the stars. Long, low, not a mass or a planet, but a layer, a veil stretching out below you like the surface of a frozen sea. As you approach, the veil becomes more defined. It is not a structure. It is not a world. It is a field of ice, vast, flat, seamless, spanning hundreds of thousands of kilometers in every direction. Suspended in space without orbit, it hangs like a single sheet of frost, stretched across the blackness. Its surface is not static. It moves in slow, imperceptible tides, flexing with invisible gravity, creaking beneath its own memory. Beneath the ice lies darkness, deep, cold, unmoving. And yet the feeling that rises in your chest is not fear, it is reverence. You have arrived at the place known in whispers and in wonder as the archives beneath the ice. Your ship drifts downward, lowering toward the glassy plain. As you near the surface, the details sharpen. This is no natural formation. The ice is etched with patterns, fine geometric grooves that stretch in all directions, looping into spirals and intersecting circles, forming a vast network of symbols and lines too intricate to decipher at a glance. They do not glow, they do not pulse, they are silent, ancient, carved into the surface by methods long since lost to time. Your vessel's reflection appears on the ice, warped slightly by the grooves, multiplied by the clarity of the frozen layer. You hover above it for a long moment, and the ice waits, as though listening. Then a change, a soft crack, not loud, not sharp, but clear and certain. The surface beneath you begins to shift. The grooves deepen, widening slowly, forming new lines that extend outward from the ship in symmetrical branches. The ice does not break, it opens. The lines become channels, and within them, light begins to move slowly at first. A dull glow like moonlight, seen through fog, then brighter, clearer, forming threads of silver that reach outward and downward at once. The ice folds back, not in shards but in soft, seamless layers, revealing an opening beneath. You descend. The interior of the archive is not cold, it is quiet. The light from the surface pours downward, illuminating a vast hollow chamber carved into the underside of the ice. The walls are smooth and pale, rippling like frozen waves, and embedded within them are crystalline forms, rows upon rows of long, upright prisms, each one transparent and filled with motion. Your ship comes to rest in the center of the chamber, hovering above a circular platform that glows softly beneath you. The crystals begin to stir. They are not storage devices. They are not machines. Each one contains a moment, not a memory in the way a mind remembers, not a recording of sights and sounds, a distilled fragment of being, held in suspended clarity. You float forward, and one of the crystals responds to your presence. It glows faintly, then brightly, and the air around your ship begins to ripple. The vision comes not with light or sound, but with presence. You are no longer in the chamber. You are walking across a mountain ridge beneath a twilight sky, your feet crunching against snow that glows with soft lavender hues. In the distance, 3 stars burn in perfect alignment, casting long shadows behind the peaks. You look down at your hand, holding something warm, a small sphere of woven light. You do not know what it is, but you love it. You protect it. The sensation fills your chest with quiet urgency, and then the vision fades. You are in the chamber again. The crystal dim. Another responds. This one smaller, darker, etched with thin cracks like the surface of frozen glass. The air shivers, and you feel a second presence. Not a scene this time. A thought, a question, a single feeling left behind by someone who once stood in the same space. What do you carry that does not belong to you? The feeling is not accusatory. It is gentle, reflective, a soft mirror turned inward. The crystal dims again. Around you, hundreds more begin to flicker, as if aware of your arrival, offering their contents not all at once but one at a time. Respectfully, you drift slowly through the chamber, each crystal a quiet invitation. Some are warm, a child running through tall golden grass, laughter echoing through air scented with crushed fruit. Some are quiet, the sound of falling snow in a city of dark stone, the hush between words spoken by a dying flame. Others are difficult, a pair of hands letting go of another's, a journey ending before it began, a silence that lasted too long. But none are painful. They are accepted, honored, held. The archives do not judge. They remember. Each crystal holds a moment someone was not ready to lose, or not ready to carry alone. They came here, to the ice, and gave it up. not to forget, but to let it be kept in a place that would not fade, not distort, not decay. The archives beneath the ice do not speak. They do not alter. They preserve. You realize then that the archive is not only for others, it is also for you. A single platform rises from the floor before you. A small pedestal, smooth and empty, its surface glowing faintly in anticipation. The ship rests silently, unmoving. You understand what is being asked, but no pressure follows. You are being offered the chance to give something away, not forever, not in loss, in safekeeping. You close your eyes, and a moment rises, not a grand one, not a sorrowful one. A moment small and unfinished, the sound of rain falling on your shoulders as you waited in a place you cannot name. The feeling of expecting someone who never came. The way the world looked in that single breath between disappointment and acceptance. You remember it fully now. You exhale, and you let it go. The moment leaves you not as a sharp departure, but as a sigh. It floats from your breath into the air, and the pedestal receives it without flash or shimmer. A new crystal forms before your eyes. Slowly, like frost spreading across a window pane, it solidifies, pulses once, and joins the rows along the wall, finding its place among the many. You are light. The chamber begins to dim. The crystals fade back into slumber. The platform lowers. The opening above you returns, and the ship begins to rise. As you ascend, the ice folds closed behind you, sealing without trace. The lines across its surface vanishing like memories now safely kept. The reflection of the ship appears once more in the smooth pane, unmarred and unchanged. You are above the veil again. The archives beneath the ice sink slowly into the distance behind you, hidden once more beneath their seamless veil of etched frost, their silent chambers folding away into the deep, as if they had never been opened. And yet they leave their trace not in weight, but in absence, in the sensation of having set something down after carrying it for far too long. The ship rises into the stillness of the higher dark, and the stars return, spread wide across a vast stretch of space that now seems even quieter than before. You drift in this pause for a time, neither ascending nor descending, carried along on invisible currents that don't ask for your direction. You do not wonder where you are going. You trust that space in its quiet and strange wisdom knows where you need to be. The stars begin to pulse again, faintly, slowly. The rhythm of light around you seems to change in pattern. The stars no longer fixed points but breathing shapes, their brightness waxing and waning like tides beneath a surface you cannot see. A sound emerges, not through the walls of the ship, not in the ears, but somewhere deeper. A tone, soft and airy, more like a breeze than a note. It rises and falls, echoing in time with the pulsing light. Your ship begins to turn, its course realigning with a gentle curve. Ahead, a new form takes shape in the distance. Vast, delicate, shaped not like a structure, but like something grown from the galaxy itself. The Aeolian shell. It appears first as a glimmer, a curved edge catching faint starlight, its form revealed more by suggestion than contrast. As you near it, the form unfolds. The shell is not solid. It is a hollow structure, open on all sides, its walls shaped like the inside of a great instrument. It curves in overlapping layers, spiraling outward in slow coils, its surfaces carved in long ridges that resemble the inner folds of a conch shell. The material of the shell is neither metal nor stone, but something translucent, almost like glass and yet softly porous. Starlight refracts along its curves, breaking into waves of color that shift and drift like oil on water. You enter through the wide opening of the outer rim. The moment your ship crosses the threshold, the sound changes. It no longer echoes faintly. The walls of the shell respond to your presence, their ridges catching ambient radiation, gravitational tension, even the low thrum of your vessel's systems. These vibrations are drawn across the curved surfaces and transformed into music, not artificial, not composed, emergent. The structure itself is an instrument, and you, simply by arriving,
have become part of the song. Your ship slows as it drifts inward. You pass between massive spiral columns, their lines rippling with soft light. The tones deep, layers of harmony begin to build. Low, resonant chords paired with high, drifting notes that flicker like bells in mist. There are no performers here, no machines, only the shell and the way it receives everything in its presence and reflects it back as sound. You realize this place is not a hall or a shrine. It is a listening space, not for your ears, but for space itself. The further you drift, the richer the harmonies become. Each layer of the shell folds into another, forming chamber after chamber, each resonating with its own tone. The outer rooms echo softly, with long, slow pulses like breath drawn through silk. The inner curves resonate more sharply, singing in clear, crystalline notes that ring for minutes before fading. In one chamber, you hear a chord so low it vibrates through your bones, and in the next, a single note so delicate it could shatter a memory. The sounds do not blend into chaos. They arrange themselves around you like a cloak perfectly placed. You reach the heart of the structure. The chamber here is wide and round, domed not by ceiling but by the folding of the shell's innermost curves. The walls are translucent, and beyond them you see stars moving in slow procession patterns, shaped not by gravity but by song. Here, the tones grow quiet, almost silent, and in their silence a new sound emerges. Your own breath, your heartbeat, the faint electric pulse of your thoughts. The shell reflects not only the space around you, it reflects you. It listens so deeply that it reveals sounds you never knew you were making. You close your eyes, and you begin to hear things you forgot you'd once carried. The sound of a voice speaking your name in the quiet of another world. The hush of footsteps on ancient wood. The murmur of wind through the long grasses of a field you can no longer name. Each sound comes not with images, not with recollections, but with emotion, layered in the notes as clearly as color in light. The shell is not playing back the past. It is reminding you how it felt. The sound of joy, the tone of hesitation, the chord of longing. Your ship turns slowly within the chamber. The shell responds with a subtle swell in harmony, as if it recognizes this movement and welcomes it. You realize now that you are not merely being reflected. You are in duet with the structure. Each motion you make, each breath, each shift of weight, each pulse of thought, feeds the music. The shell is not an object, it is an accompanist. And you, by listening, by being, are performing. You drift slowly into the next chamber. Here, the light dims slightly, and the walls of the shell take on a deeper hue, cool blues and grays that shimmer like moonlight on stone. The tones here are fewer, simpler. A single note sustains itself across the entire space, rising and falling in small waves. Beneath it, a harmonic ripple pulses, like the beat of a vast and distant heart. You let yourself become still. The music continues. The shell keeps playing. You realize it would continue even if you vanished, even if no one was here to hear it, because the shell was never meant to be heard. It was meant to listen, and in listening, it creates. You float there for a long while, not asleep, not lost, just present. The music surrounds you. It holds you. Eventually, a soft chime begins to build. Not loud, not urgent, just a signal. The shell is guiding you outward again, not sending you away, simply returning you to the path beyond its curves. The ship turns once more, retracing its gentle passage through the spirals. As you move back through the layers, the tones shift, rising in key, becoming lighter, more ethereal, until they are no more than breath on the air. The last note fades as you cross the outer threshold and emerge once more into the open dark. Behind you, the shell continues to sing. You hear it for a time, then you do not, but you carry its resonance with you. The tone it played through you remains, a harmony written not in music, but in motion, in memory, in stillness. You know that wherever you drift next,
Part of you will still be echoing in the curved chambers of that ancient shell, still sounding through the structure. A presence translated into harmony, and now the stars return, not louder, not brighter, but clearer. They shine with the gentle gleam of something newly heard, their light falling into the ship like familiar voices after a long quiet. The galaxy continues. The Aeolian shell lies far behind now, hidden once more in the great hush of space, its spiraled voice fading into the folds of memory. You continue to drift, but something in the rhythm of your journey has shifted. The stars ahead glow softer, like candles nearing the end of their wick. There are fewer of them now, and the space between them has grown wider, calmer, more forgiving. The galaxy, once so rich with unfolding marvels, begins to stretch itself into silence. Not an end, not a void, but a kind of celestial exhale. Your ship moves without sound, without effort, as though carried by a current too subtle to see. And in the stillness you begin to sense the shape of something vast and final forming ahead. Not a destination, not a discovery, but a resting place. A place where everything slows, a place where everything waits. The quiet horizon. It appears not as a structure, not as light, but as the absence of both. A gently curved swell in space, as if the galaxy itself has turned on its side and settled into sleep. The stars here no longer shine with clarity. They glow like soft memories, flickering through a veil of cosmic dusk. Nebulas hang still in the distance, no longer billowing or drifting, just resting. Planets turn slowly beneath invisible suns. The silence is deep, not empty but full, a kind of fullness that has no weight. You cross into the space beyond the horizon, and something changes in your breath. It slows, it settles. You feel your thoughts uncoil, your muscles soften, your heartbeat sync with the stillness around you. You realize you have not stopped, you have arrived. Here in the final stretch of your journey, the galaxy becomes a mirror, not of the past, not of what you've seen, but of how it made you feel. You remember the golden drift of the Lantern Sea, the slow spirals of the moon paths, the whispered echoes of the archives beneath the ice. You remember the tones of the Aeolian shell still singing faintly in your chest, and the silence of Sirion wrapping itself like a dream around your spirit. And you realize the galaxy has not been taking you anywhere. It has been returning you to yourself. You drift for a time longer, minutes, hours, maybe more. Time has no grip here. You are held and you are free. And when at last, the ship begins to slow, coming to a perfect stillness in the center of the quietest place in the sky, you know it is time to rest. Not because the journey is over, but because you have followed it as far as you needed to tonight. Outside your window, the stars blink slowly, not in farewell, but in rhythm. Still there, still watching, still waiting for you whenever you're ready to drift again. Thank you for watching, traveler. Thank you for listening. The galaxy will still be here tomorrow. Quiet, patient, dreaming just beyond the veil of night. Come back again when you're ready, and we'll continue drifting together through soft starlight and sleeping moons. But for now, close your eyes,